In a remote temple, at the old table with a chessboard, a mysterious man requests that to call a hero from another world to feed the Lord Demon, whom he brought up. After shuddering from annoyance, he moves the pawn. This move is quite confused. The girl nearby noticed all the calling generously given unique abilities, so that to defeat the owner of demons with the associates turned out to be a true little thing for them. The man confesses that he has repeatedly sought to overcome the hero. The assistant explains this. Since God himself has introduced severe restrictions on the interference of deities in people's affairs, the risk is too much for him, the god of darkness. In a passionate support, he still cautiously expresses anxiety. Have they not too hurriedly overcome the Bishop of Demons? The girl claims that such a result has never been fixed before. The rapid fall of the recent demonic ruler has left almost empty energy tanks, so now the total costs are significantly exceeding the receipt. With a treacherous smile, the villain offers the evil to return the hero to life earlier than it will be done by God the Creator. Surprised, the man asks why at all to give the hero a chance to reincarnate. The girl smiles mysteriously and explains, it is enough to impose a spell on his soul, and there will be no trace from heroic glory, only a helpless shadow. The Almighty approves her plan and reborn a boy, deliberately imposing a curse on him. A young man was put before God, and he turned to him in his name, Kigjo Haruto. Fallen, Haruto exclaims that he has lost the evil of the deity himself. Remembering his forced rebirth in the world where this god prevails, the Lord on the throne smiles abusive. The universe is favorably responsible for pleading, but Kichio, without holding back pain, asks, why was it then to take his life? The young man again raises his question. If the interlocutor is God, then it is impossible to move him without taking his life. This is answered. Death is necessary to send it to this other world. Meanwhile, according to their conversation, without view, the assistant of God monitors. The sinister god explains that the perfection of the world requires deadly disappointments and dark despair energy. Haruto's view stops on his own trembling hands. It is not believed that death has already touched him. But later, it comes to an extremely important opinion. It is questioned whether God gives in a new life, though a share of skills and talent. Kidzo is convinced that even if a man is an evil god, his divine nature does not change. The imagination is ignited by the idea that he can become anyone, a warrior, a noble knight, or a mysterious spuff. Hearing that the Lord really has a message for him, the guy rejoices in the heart, asking what power he will get and whether she will be cheater. Haruto decides that, regardless of the answer, he will find her best use. An unexpected confession is heard from God's mouth. What he offers is actually a curse. This truth strikes a man, and a shadow of surprise appears on the face. A hand with anxiety speaks of the role that is waiting for Haruto in their world. She is so excited that the boy will have to accept a curse that will forever consolidate his new status. However, the new moon is just confused with what God is in such words. The sinister god pointed to the pawn, emphasizing, no matter how many Kijota monsters won, his status would freeze at the first level. Hearing this, the guy does not hide deep surprise. Not wanting to obey another's will, Haruto challenges God himself, forbidding to interfere with his fate. It is at this point that the unknown launches the reincarnation process. Thunder breaks the silence when Pong cracks in his eyes, and the evil god, playing with fate, is ominously advised the boy to enjoy the new world in full. A moment, and the guy disappears in the flashes of light, still having time to demand a crumb of explanations from a mysterious man. The exhausted god is convinced that almost all the divine power is already spent on dark magic. And having reached this turn, even the creator himself will not dare to stop this rebirth. Panic, the girl rushes to her husband, and he barely says that he is exhausted to the edge. The assistant announces the end of the events, warning, evil god will soon find balance and begin to gain strength. The man, meanwhile, explains that the strict laws of the world of the gods allowed him to appoint this boy only the third most important position. With a request in her voice, the guy has wondered if she could change the class of Ruto to the worse, if it is in her power. The girl notes that even with such a profession, the guy has a well-established position, but it is not enough. The strength of defeating the owner of the demons will still not be enough. Like, this boy is not even able to overcome this boy. So there is no sense to worry about him more, and God agrees completely with it. When asked to take care of the consequences, tiredly reports that he wants to rest a little. Surprised, the girl obediently returns to the evil god. Tired to the limit of his forces, a man confesses that he can no longer stand, and is interested in what she wants. The assistant in response notes that he has not yet decided on where this person will be reborn. The explanation of her sounded calmly. The boy's soul will travel the world of gods, and God himself will soon know the essence of reincarnation. This insidious God, with a shade of impatience, asked if it is possible to give a new life, even if he had to make him his servant. The girl sighs and confesses. Her spells are powerless. Only a male hand is able to perform a reincarnation rite. The exhausted god of evil, barely holding back yawning, listens to her words and dreams of a long-awaited dream. He appeals to his assistant to prepare possible options. She enters the room with a set for playing darts. An unexpected but interesting gift for him. The deity with darts in his hand complains. It is necessary to kiss directly into the target. The girl carefully asks, let the throw pass her. Such part of the rite, she is sure. Meanwhile, the sinister god is exhausted. Force is almost on the verge. Almost every object is appointed subordinate. And it seems that this is the order of setting goals. Further, with a probability of 99%, the guy turns to him. I am sure that it is only necessary to desire her master, and this guy will certainly find herself among their subordinates. No matter how skillful the throwing of the devilish god, and how much effort would not be made by a man, the result remains unchanged. Having hit the target, the girl fades with a true surprise. The surprise covers it, when the Lord calls the aristocracy unmistakably. He hit the target. From the higher forces, and did not expect different, only God can guess this scanty, one of the hundreds, a chance to be born among the nobility. However, in her voice there is more disappointment than delight, because this luck is a real trouble. Meanwhile, the man has already plunged into a deep sleep. The board now before the eyes is created as a tool filled with a part of the power of the wicked god. It is only necessary to make a choice. There will be no gate. The second chance is given. The assistant with anxiety clarifies. Was the one who made this decision really God was a darkness? She confidently states that because of his unchanged position, the guy will not become a hero. And this is great, so it will certainly be. Kicho Hato, the so-called young man 17. He knows exactly what had happened before his death, and a strange meeting with God of Darkness was clearly etched in memory. But this is what failed to find out. Why he got a second chance of life. The curse imposed by God remained a mystery to him because the meaning of this trial remained unclear. Deep surprise covers the soul. Was it worthwhile to conceal all these reincarnation games to then send a curse? Meanwhile, Hawato gradually comes to consciousness. Consciousness emerges from darkness. Around only darkness, and the body obeys, as if it turned into a heavy stone. No movement, only a deaf breath of unknown. The softness nearby unexpectedly makes himself known, and the young man notices a girl who wakes up near him. She apologizes in confusion, worried about whether she did not prevent him from sleeping. Turning to her as a shadow, Kidzo is trying to recognize the familiar figure thoughtfully. At her concerned request, Haruto, imprisoned in the body of a child, suddenly realizes that for 5 years since he appeared in this world, this woman was tirelessly taken care of by him, remaining his personal maid. The hammer, Hegio apologizes and confesses the shadows. He was scared by a spooky dream. The girl hugs him, asking if he will calm down with such an act. The promise sounds always staying around, and the hero finally plunges into a deep dream. In the memoirs of Tina, a man asks a surprise whether she really seeks to become a personal maid for the baby, and even limit himself to just a modest role of the mentor. The proposal of such a level for him is a dream, and yet a mystery that prompted it to accept this agreement. The girl confesses that she was looking forward to this moment when a baby was born. Haruto has been approached after 5 years of silence. So much time has passed since then. Picking up the blanket and getting out of bed, the guy looks around in surprise. It is hard to believe that the fate has thrown him down to the magnificent estate of the aristocrat. He would never think that after the whim of the evil god, his new beginning will take place not in the worst conditions, but in the majestic home. Kijio's thoughts return to the question of whether he will be able to enjoy a carefree life in the body of a nobility. Meanwhile, Tina announces that breakfast is already waiting. Awareness comes suddenly, without power, but with the treasure trove of knowledge from the past life. You can also act. The look stops for breakfast, dishes on the table moving the imagination, causing delight. The servant suddenly suggests adding harut mana to the salad. The amazing taste of the sauce is suddenly captured, but the agreement does not hesitate. Admired by the taste of the dish, the guy responds admires. Today, the food has succeeded. The girl is happy to smile, explaining that she tried to cook her as delicious today. Kidzo, meanwhile, is curious with interest, whether she is really the author of this culinary masterpiece. With a smile on the face, replies that many people are able to cook this dish. The recipe is extremely popular. However, for the hero, he continues to be a mystery of what kind of dish it is. Awareness gradually encompasses him. And Tina tells that this recipe was given to them by a hero who was called to their world many years ago. At that moment, it becomes clear. There was already someone else here. In the reflections of Garuto, the assumption is swore. Perhaps this man just gave a variety of knowledge to make life easier in this world. If so, he will be famous as a connoisseur without any influence, and therefore, all ideas will prove futile. The outrage of the young man flashes against the evil deity. Despair covers it. It is not possible to strike even the lightest blow, and the level seems to have froze forever in place. Improvement and misunderstanding are quite unclear how to overcome this abyss of helplessness. In Kijio's memory, Tina's words about tomorrow's workout are echoed, but it is not restful. His sister and 2 brothers are also among the chosen ones, and in view of this, the family can put a lot of hope for him. The idea of the possibility of other paths of development does not leave him, because you do not want to disappoint Tina. The palms are moving fussy in the air. Haruto is constantly looking for a way to deal with the status window. Suddenly before the eyes, a new abyss. Looking closely at his data, the guy finds their name. Haruto V. Sibylplex. Human race, lack of skills, age, 5 years. Health level, 30 out of 30, 10 out of 10, physical attack, 10. Magical attack is the same, and, except for age, all indicators remained unchanged. In the characteristics of the hero, there was a curse that cannot be eliminated, and it makes him realize, shadows cannot be told. Meanwhile, the girl has fun announces that it's time to swim. Looking at his parameters, the guy sees with surprise, his class remains a sage, and the level has never shifted from the first mark. The foam waves envelop Haruto as the maid washes him carefully, and the guy's cheeks flare up with a blush. There is a confusion in his head. Did he always bathe with her? The girl gently puts the boy in bed, taking care of his peace and rest. It recognizes that it will spend the night from now on. It is better for them to divide one bed anymore, not understanding what prompted him to make such a decision. Tina asks whether he is upset by something, or perhaps he is something dissatisfied. It seems that her charm is incomprehensible, and such thoughts appear only through the memories of a 17-year-old young man. Under no circumstances it was possible to reveal the truth, so Haruto convinces Tina that she is not guilty of anything. He just needs to be alone and fall asleep. The words heard are stunning her to the heart. It is not believed that this is true. Tears shine in the girl's eyes when she explains. Despite all the trials, he still asks her about it, and Kidzu agrees. The maid obediently nods and reminds it. If suddenly becomes lonely, her door is always open for him. With a smile on her face, Gerudo thanks her and wishes goodnight. Its appearance just faded behind the door, as the thoughts of forced sharpness began to bite conscience. Everything seemed too tough. Even remembering his previous life of a 5-year-old boy, he does not appear in memory, where he, as if a corrupted child, left his mother alone. Thoughts overwhelms anxiety. Does she miss him and his younger sister? The promise is confidently heard. The evil committed by God will not be forgiven. Morning meets Tina excited. She wakes it with the words that it is time to start training. Finally, after calming down, the guy is convinced that everything is fine with her, and turns to her sensei, wanting to ask something. The question of the desire to see her window status girl slyly winks, and immediately demonstrates it. Amazing surprise covers Haruto when he learns that her level reached 250. With a smile, the maid is wondering whether the owner thinks that she is not suitable for the role of the teacher. However, in response, he hears a convincing objection. Kidzu proudly declares her own power, and Tina reminds that these power and endurance are the result of her service as a personal guard. The question was clear. Did the hero prepare for training? Surprising mentally, the guy thinks that she has prompted her to become his personal maid, and decides to find out more about it. Tina decides to start with the basics, so he will show the simplest techniques of magic of fire, properly to the lowest class. Purposefully aiming the magic of power on the fence, the heroine creates a spear of flames. This unexpected trick causes a sincere surprise in Haruto. Words break out of his mouth. Is this really a magic of such a low level? Against the backdrop of destruction, Tina confesses that she only wanted to give him a good example. In response, the hero assures with a smile, "Everything is fine, just survived a light shock." The hedge notes her remarkable skill and a high level of training, so she is wondering why she is not a regular maid. Recognizing, the girl confesses that all this is true. Her great-grandfather was once lucky to become a real hero of the past generation. The girl notes that thanks to his significant origin, it is much easier to raise the level, and she is interested in whether the boy suits such an explanation. Without hesitation, Geruto agrees, deciding that it is no longer significant. The comrade immediately takes the initiative, declaring, "Now it is time to act." In a light voice, the girl advises, "Try to feel her Manu, and then the unexpected will open." Unknown excitement suddenly pierces the tips of the hero's fingers, forcing him to be in surprise to ask what it was a strange feeling. Tina enthusiastically notes his success, explaining that these feelings are mana, and he has already learned to control it. Aruto explains, everything is due to her magical circle. However, the girl denies, the circle only helps him. With his hand forward, he asks whether to cover his palm with a mana, and Tina nods. The idea was, will it be suspicious if everything is perfect on the first attempt? Trying to ignite the fire, he barely reaches a trembling spark, which is almost immediately faded. Studying his own palm, Geruto confesses, despite all his efforts, it was not possible to create a flame. But suddenly the maid interrupts him, emphasizing, he still managed to do so on the first attempt. Praise is generously pouring, marking his extraordinary talent. Holding the hero by the hand, Tina notes with a playful smile, if he has already coped with it, it's time to move on to combat magic. She urges, let him try to concentrate Manu in his palms, just as he did before. He joyfully obeys her will, and his soul feels relief. But later thoughts return to bitter truth. Everything seemed to be powerful, and the curse still has not lost its strength. The girl explains in detail, you should imagine her own right and try to transfer the Manu to the palm of the left while Haruto stands in front of the crystal target. It adds that the clearer and clearer the image appears in the head, the easier the task is, and the guy in the meantime is trying hard to draw an imaginary drawing. However, the attempt is in vain, and in the end it only repeats the shadow proclaimed by the shadow of a fiery spear. The impression of the hero increases. Witchcraft not only works, but also amazingly resembles the flames in its outlines. The girl, however, confusedly monitored the events, cannot believe that I laid to use a spell against the guy. Having accurately hit the target, Geruto creates a fiery spear on the first attempt, perfectly, as noted by the affected maid. Easily wondering his skills, the girl is wondered if he is tired after such an achievement, but the guy assures, at all. The girl notes that most beginners release all their Manu on the first attempt, although in fact it only needs a little. In response, the guy assures that his arrows are still going out, and he is interested in whether he will not hurt him if he continues to act the same. Tina agrees, but offers only 3 shots to be limited. Haruto obediently fulfills her request. With a smile on his face, the guy recalls how on the eve of excitement they did not give him rest. But now he is satisfied with the result. Even when he was at the initial level, he managed to make a strong shot. The next day, Tina warns that she goes to the city center for shopping and asks to call the call if suddenly gets bad. The guy gets wondering what will happen if he calls them. A girl with a warm smile assures that as soon as he hears his call, arrives at him, even on the other end of the world. As a sign of this promise, he extends him a bell. In his thoughts, the curiosity is heard. Despite the fact that last time he made 4 shots, fatigue is not felt at all. He wants to find out how many more times he can press the trigger. Declaring that he will only stop when he gets bored, he constantly launches one by one fiery spears. The young man shot more than 30 times. It is surprised because it does not feel any fatigue from the cost of mana. Meanwhile, the hero quickly reviews his characteristics. No changes in their own characteristics. Even the amount of mana, stubbornly, is at 10 units. Peruto is convinced that 30 times in a row to call a flame spear, it means to spend just a tremendous amount of mana. She notices that the girl has not decreased at all. The young man thinks, will he be able to activate the fiery spear if left the window open? After examining this, he is surprised. He can, really. It shoots more 3 times, but the mana level remains unchanged. This is the case as a guy guessed. The curse of the god of evil does not allow you to change not the maximum indicators, but the absolute current characteristics. No deviations, no changes. Kaika with enthusiasm noticed. It is only necessary to use magic. The supply of mana remains unchanged. Understanding this, comes to the conclusion. If you learn how to manage the magic skillfully, you can become the most powerful of all. Thinking about the possibilities of the curse, the guy imagines, now it is possible to impose a few squeezes and significantly strengthen their own magical power. The stomach grumbles loudly, and he with humor notes, even if the characteristics remain unchanged, it does not save from hunger. He thinks about Tina. I wonder if she is still busy. The bell is heard, and with hope in his voice he asks if she returns if he gives this sign again. An instantaneous reaction of the girl. She tends to him, falling asleep about well-being and possible injuries, which is quite amazing the hero. In her thoughts, she thought that she flew into the room almost on her wings, and Tina, meanwhile, was interested in why he called the call at all. He confesses that he only has a feeling of hunger. It was discouraged by admitting his guilt. The maid reports that almost noon, and sincerely apologizes for being late. Hastily promising to take up the dinner, the girl causes a warm smile on his face. In the soul, the guy decides that it is worth asking for forgiveness. The thoughts of Haruto are confused between the desire to meet with God of evil and thirst to delight in Tina. The desire to become at times more powerful is already turning to him into a true purpose. Suddenly, an unusual rabbit with the horn rushes directly to the hero, and the magician raises his voice, calling Haruto. In an effort to release the projectile as thin and accurate as possible, he hopes that the animal will suffer minimal harm. The icy wall, erected by Tina at a moment of danger, blocks the path of a rabbit. The young man, though still frightened, is easier to thank her for the salvation. Despite the visible weakness of the beast, Kijo gets not to lose vigilance, because it is still a real monster. The young man creates a fiery spell and instantly won the enemy. The girl is genuinely admired by Haruto's skill, noting that he has coped with all one accurate blow. In response, the guy notes that only thanks to her witchcraft, the monster had no opportunity to rush at him. Despite all this, the guy was able to maintain complete peace and restrain the situation. Stunned, the hero contemplates the defeated animal. A cold tremor runs through the body, and does not fit in his head that this creature has recently burst into energy and fussed. The intention to share this with Tina is barely ripening as the girl rises to him. Warm embrace of the girl suddenly wraps Haruto, giving him a sense of calm and comfort. The girl explains that this rabbit is too weak, but its delicious meat is often attracted to predators. Tina says that the guy is forced to live in a world where regular hunting for safety has become everyday life. In confirmation of her words, she gives an example. It was his aristocratic family that has taken over the leadership of this land. Calls to appreciate this one, unique life. With interest, he asks Guto if they will share the rabbit, and asks the maid to teach the proper processing of the carcass. The girl, with a smile, calls the boy a true, courageous guy, with a firm character. Many different dishes were prepared from the rabbit carcass. The look of Tina, focused on the boy, gives it an opinion. How much insecurity lies in him now, and how long these same doubts have already settled in her own heart. With tears of joy in the eyes of Kijo tastes the dish, admiring what she is delicious, and the maid thanks to him for such words. In her thoughts, there is no confidence. Gyuto will certainly become an outstanding magician, because she openly appreciates every life without hiding his true feelings. The girl notes, there are good reasons why the guy will certainly gain greatness. In memory, the battle with that creature is floating. The monster could not dodge the fire spear that easily stirred his protection. Even the icy wall, created by Tina, did not save from this magic. This impressed her so much that belief in her own strength was protected. The maid kept a secret in memory. Only she knew about the power that the hero had been doing every day from everyone. Awareness comes instantly. The goal simply will not withstand the witchcraft of Gerudo. It seems that his power grows continuously, indifferent to any characteristics. Recalling those ancient moments next to her husband, there is an opinion inadvertently. Is not Haruto reincarnated? Tina strongly rejects her suspicions, convincing herself, if it is true, he will definitely tell her herself. There is no point in rushing. The answer she has been waiting for a century will not escape. 5 years have passed. Finally, a dream came true. The guy enters the Academy of Magic and imagines how many new friends will find in this unknown world. The order made clear, all newcomers to gather in the lecture hall. The guy hurried to clarify. Those who have not received a pass, wait separately. However, he was not destined to finish the phrase, because suddenly the girl pushed him carelessly, knocking down his thought. The annoyed man exclaims angrily, ordered to watch the road more closely. The guy's gaze pierces her, and the young man is hastily apologized. He clarifies whether she realizes that she had just pushed the son of Baron himself, and whether she paid attention to 2 white stripes on his cell, a distinction of a high position. In despair, the girl asks if there is something that she should do. The crowd rises from the crowd. Boys and girls try to find out if it was really a girl to hit the son of Baron. But among them is a guy who assures, the culprit is a young stranger who just walked her towards her. Unhappy, he reproaches everyone around, they say. These aristocrats only do that, they set the tone and top, simply because they belong to the nobility. He notes that if the opportunity falls, this girl will certainly be taken into account. A young student has already matured a decisive intention to act. Even a noble origin does not stop him. However, sudden intervention destroys the plan. A powerful hand sharply grabs him for his wrist, and the promise sounds. These scoundrels will still fight. There is a desire to intercept the steps of a stranger, but suddenly attracts the emblem on his collar. 3 white stripes sparkle on the collar, a sign that the carrier belongs to the influential type of accounts. Haruto was put in front of the brawlers. His gaze was firm, and his voice did not endure. Leave a girl alone, it is not like her. Fearing to lose the right moment, the son of Baron is already okay to reveal the truth about his personality, and his view suddenly stops at 3 mysterious dashes that extend on the collar of Kijio. The young man who stands next to the Baron's son turns to him, calling Neda-san, and reports that Garuto is the heir to the Count. He advises to avoid further communication, and just go. An annoyed hero sharply states, if there is no more questions, the road is free. In the soul, the desire to pour the oil into the fire flashes, but the boys, without standing the tension, disappear quickly. Haruto asks the girl whether she is fine with her, at the same time assuring that it is not necessary to get annoyed by the behavior of these aristocrats, because not all of them are such as these. In response, he assures that she is all right, and thanks sincerely for the salvation. The fragile lady, squeezing a tear, tells that she was surrounded unexpectedly, from which she was enveloped by a real fright. The young man who had previously tried to stop Haruto sincerely apologizes for his sharpness, because he had no idea that he was faced with Earl San himself. Laughing, Kidzo suggests, if he was a noble kind, the guy would have dared to treat him so. Without stopping, apologize from the guy's mouth. The hero assures, the words here are superfluous. It is better to prove the case. But the younger does not yet turn what they expect from him. With an unexpected proposal, Haruto calls the guy to be friends, which causes that genuine surprise. Gaio, continuing to joke, threatens to complain to his father about the rudeness of the boy. In response, his father panics, warns, let him not even think of blackmail if he has already stated the desire to make friends. Having reached out, the hero gently points out, aren't real friends communicating? And isn't that great, finding a friend? The guy with a grateful smile agrees. The stranger calls his name, Hans. The girl asks the girl as if she will also allow her to join their friendly company. By the name, the moon, so it presents itself. Having received an invitation from Haruto, friends with enthusiasm agree to visit his home. Unlike other students, aristocrats do not live in dormitories. Instead, the school gives them their own gorgeous homes directly in the campus. The 3 of them, following the Late Kyo route, go to the house. A strange feeling covers a young man. The house seemed to disappear without a trace. It is at this moment that a gesture points forward, asking if this house was discussed. Before them grows a real palace, a majestic mansion that strikes its size. The huge sizes of the house affect the Herta to the depths of the soul, while the moon suggests that the estate may well live in such an estate. Tina approaches them and is interested in asking the hero whom he brought with him. He, with a smile, replies that he is his friends. It is a joy to watch how he was able to finally find true friends. The maid sincerely congratulates Haruto on the achievement of what he is grateful to, and expresses her desire to have lunch with his friends. Tina asks the boys to wait for the living room until she prepares everything he needs. The moon is shared with friends with joyful news. Tomorrow they will announce the lists of new classes, and sincerely hopes that the fate will not separate them, allowing everyone to get into one group. She supports her opinion, adding that there are many more classes ahead, and it would be great if they were together. Hitting in the shade, Tina unnoticed their conversation. The next day, the moon happily states that they got to the same class. Hand with interest asks Haruto if that daddy official did not use, but the hero immediately rejects such suspicions. After crossing the threshold of the academy, young seekers quickly find their audience. The interested hedge turns to friends, asking if they all were divided into one group. In response, the hands are fascinated by the impressions. The freshmen's rooms are really striking. The hero with a gesture invites them to enter inside. The class from the class announces that all 10 students have already come together. The Elfian proudly calls herself a bodice, and her landscape companion seems like a melody. The guy in the class confidently announces that Ryu Shin is called, and the girl nearby is his sister. A new girl, Yuko, appears in the room. She confidently calls her name and urges everyone to treat her politely. It seems that Haruto noticed the girl's tales. The rest remained completely indifferent to this miracle. Soon the class gets acquainted with the twins Mei and Mei, who join the student community. Subsequently, each of the others also gives names. Hands, Moon, and Harbound receive their identity. Leifa wants to find out in Keizo if he belongs to the count kind. He agrees with a smile, but he clarifies. In the class, he prefers to remain himself, not to play the role of the graph, so she asks her not to worry about it. The melody has wondered if her friends can also count on a special attitude in the classroom. The guy replies what is possible if his father intervenes. The surprise is to draw on Reishi's face when the girl asks why their class is not yet aware of the name of the teacher, and the sister immediately supports this opinion. A woman appears in the class door, and the surprise covers Haruto. Tina stands in front of him. She insists with a smile. Turn to me like Tina Sensei. The girl seems to all present. She is their mentor Tina Harable, and now she is entrusted to lead this class. Yuko is interested in interest. Whether the elf was called that a century ago helped the hero to overcome the owner of the demons. The teacher confirms with a smile, and this unexpected response is stunning all present. Perdo, confident that the high rank she got not because of the glory of ancestors, she wondered with interest how many years of shadows. She strictly corrects him, emphasizing Tina Sensei, and reproaches that the woman is not good for a woman to raise in conversation. The hero immediately begs for his carelessness. The elevator's head matures the question she wants to ask the teacher. Among the elven people, the name of Tina Gerbel is legend, they say. She is a real heroine. However, after the fall of the Lord's power, the demons should disappear without a trace. So now, the interlocutor asks for a significant confirmation. Is it really the legendary Tina really faces her? The manager proposes to immediately display her indicators on the board, and the whole team is stunned by its impressive results. The moon is amazed, realizing that the one who treats them with taste was surprisingly powerful. Yuko, hesitating only a moment, politely asks for permission to ask another question. Having received permission, he is immediately interested in why Tina, such a respectable and experienced person, holds the position of their mentor. The girl is simple that it is just a way to kill time, and this answer remains a mystery to classmates. Tina adds that her hands and Moon are aware of her role as a maid Garuto. She visited school with Kij to take care of him. She always had enough time in the estate, so one day the advertisement of a set of teachers got on her eyes. Suddenly, Aruto's eye captures how the interlocutor lifts his finger up for a moment, pronouncing the phrase. He immediately becomes clear. This gesture always appears when she tries to hide something. The news of the extracurricular match is stunning the Moon, and Tina explains that such battles will be held on a monthly basis. The teacher reports that there are cafes with cakes and pancakes, and yet, there are no large libraries at school. It seems to the student that the academy really justifies his hope. It is cozy and pleasant. Tina picks up the idea, adding that it is because of this that they will have to compete with many strong classes. She advises to make every effort to keep a place in the academy. Hands are wondering if they prefer stronger classes if there are several applicants. The teacher confirms this and corresponds to the affirmative. Her words prophesy every time she will have to enter a duel with high school students. The surprise covers the river, because the newcomers suddenly oppose the high school students. Liefa thoughtfully notes, "Isn't it extremely difficult to stay together in their class?" Confidently and with a spark of hope in the voice, Tina assures that in each of them hidden force, capable of making them invincible. For her wise wire, everything will definitely work out. Haruto does not fit in the head, where she has so much confidence. The teacher invites students to get acquainted with each other's abilities, and has already prepared the target, encouraging to test their magic at full power. The awareness pervades the hero. He is in front of the same target that he remembers from childhood. Rusin asks if Tina deny if he shows all his power and receives consent. She explains that the competition in power allows you to know each other's boundaries, and this is the first step to a real understanding between comrades. Liefa strongly declares his desire to become a candidate. With genuine curiosity, Tina asks to demonstrate her strongest technique. Gathering with thoughts, the elf releases a lightweight shot from the bow, sending an arrow with incredible accuracy. The arrow, sent by the wind arrow, rapidly cuts the air and breaks the target unmistakably. The surprise engulfed Haruto. Only with the help of the magic of the wind, Lefa was able to do what it is usually difficult to cope with, even experienced. She made a piece of shadows to separate. The teacher noted the girl's skill deserved praise. Twins appear on the stage. The students notice that something special unfolds in front of them. Two are creating a spell together, and magic is intertwined in a rare combination. This has not happened yet. Mei and Mei weave their forces, releasing the radiant ray of harmony. Tina enthusiastically notes how amazing the combination of magic of opposite elements is, and her hands finally realized why the sisters act so harmoniously. The cue reached Raishin. Saying the transformation of the dragon, his hand instantly increases in size, covered with scales and sharp claws. The boys fade with such a surprise, and the teacher explains with a smile. He can change the parts of his own body to use them in battle. The powerful spell of the dragon cuts the enemy into pieces, leaving only ashes. Tina strongly announces that the Rescant is one of the desperate magicians of the dragon race. The bodice confesses that she also wanted to spread the target, and explains, a similar effect occurs due to all the damage that is accumulated after destruction. Ruka demonstrates the shadows of any goal, but the girl proposes to turn on the imagination. The girl, listening carefully to the words, utters the spell that gives her the likeness of the dragon. The resurrection spell enlivens the one on whom the magic is directed. The moon is surprised to watch the ruler skillfully returns the goal to life with the help of magic of the resurrection. Tina's question about whether it was a dragon magic of Miko's revival. The student jumped by surprise. Suddenly it became clear that the mentor had had this knowledge for a long time. The leader assures that the revival magic of the girl is able to return the object to his original state, if it still has a drop of magical power. In the reflections, Haruto shatters confidence that a spark of vitality burns in the human body or magical creature. However, to bring someone to life, the counting is rigidly limited. The resurrection is possible only for the first hour, and only when death has come no more than a day. Finally, the reason for Tina's confidence is revealed. Now it is quite clear why she is so convinced that everyone around is extremely strong. And there is an unwavering confidence. Among the other four, exactly two who should not be underestimated. Awareness suddenly cuts the hero's consciousness. It belongs to these people, but why he has not yet gained at least the first level remains a mystery. It turns out that in everything the insidious seal of the wicked god, whose oath is still holding it back. He annoyingly points out that he has not yet reported the shadow of his situation. His level has not yet risen above the first due to the curse of the treacherous deity. The teacher's voice is heard over the class. Who will decide to speak next? Melody, having announced to help, reach out of support, and promises to teach her magical arts. Sincere surprise covers the boys when their girl suddenly shows striking abilities. She effortlessly enhances the limit of magical power, imposes magic, constantly strengthens her own endurance, enhances the strength of strokes, and gets dizziness. In the confusion of Melody does not fully understand what is happening, but still sincerely thanks classmates. He confesses that she has never used so much force at once. Power simply overwhelms her body, and she barely restrains this crazy stream. The melody with this bell causes the Chikukuna in the air. The target breaks into dozens of small debris under her decisive blow. Watching all this, the students immediately understand that Ryushin recognizes their defeat. The melody notes that there were too many changes. According to Tina, the best couple than the moon and the melody, it is not necessary to look. Meanwhile, Yuko mysteriously disappears from the field of view. The teacher notes that he has already watched the magic of 8 students, and is interested in which of the remaining will show his abilities. In the look of Haruto, an unexpected spark had attracted his attention. A strange anticipation envelops, and the desire to use the cheats disappears. Leaves this opportunity only as a last resort, when you cannot do without it. Suddenly the hero is announced, but at this moment his hands intercepts the initiative and puts forward his candidacy. The Garado confesses to the magic through the shadows, and considering himself powerful, he expects to brag about a friend at the end of the story. Joe, having only the first level, does not trust the words at all. Before the target, the guy lifts a formidable thunder hammer and imposes a spell on him. There are many magical symbols around him, creating an atmosphere of intense anticipation. The ruler immediately compares the nature of this magic, and the hands, without spending time, continues to explain. His grace is the force that the contract gives. Just listen and allow this energy to open ways of power. The guy causes ancient lightning magic, which instantly stuns classmates. The target disappeared without a trace, and in the place of its fall, the earth was covered with deep cracks. Interested, Liefa asks the shadows whether to create hands as a top-level magic and receives an affirmative answer. When presenting, the teacher calls his name, Will Fruses. He is the grandson of President Ronan, the leader and sage of the Eiphelis Magical School. Like his grandfather, he has an extraordinary gift, a rare magic that only chosen have. Hard as a call, and doubts about the use of magic after the hand take a mountain over it. Tina calls him to stand at least 30% of her capabilities. The girl's words were caught by the hero by surprise, and in the meantime he assures that 30% is enough for the training ground to remain intact. Ryushin asks with interest in his hand if the magic of Harta is really so terrible. He assures that even the most powerful spells did not harm him. But suddenly Tina intervenes. I am sure that her friend can cope with more dangerous force. Ju's careful look noticed that Tina deliberately picked up a slightly weakened target for him. Her anxiety gives fear, as if she is convinced that Juu is only capable of simple spells and is considered among all the weakest. Before the eyes there is a picture, as one blow to defeat the deliberately weak opponent, so that the whole class thinks they are quite able to them. The realization that Haruto had only involved a third of his own strength is an unconcealed surprise. On the other hand, his main task is to make every effort and to break the target as clearly as possible. The hero confidently states that he will try to cope with it, using only 30% of his strength. Tina replies that he reinforced protective magic in order to protect everyone, and at the same time make him get closer. Haruto's thoughts decide that the teacher's efforts cannot be wasted. In 5 seconds, he manages to calculate the spell, even having only 10 units of magical power. Soon, it is already able to concentrate the energy of magic that will reach 100,000 units, and due to the curse, its power will remain unchanged. Trina with anxiety observes how he uses only 30% of his capabilities, and wondering whether everything is fine with him. In his thoughts, Guto reassures himself, everything will be fine. If he plans to shine, let magic really explode. He concentrates all his efforts, imposing about 1,000 layers of explosive darkness and thunder magic only on the very land. Once everything is prepared for the smallest details, the full power of his determination will escape. A fiery spear flashes in the hero's hand, which he immediately throws forward. Tina's voice, excited and alarming, heard in the air. The girl called Haruto for help. At this moment, Yuko confesses that it is happy to get a chance to see the hero with his own eyes. Once in a special laboratory, the girl carefully examines the test tube, just getting it from the closet. The vigilant look slides around the room in search of something that can be useful. The unexpected roar of the explosion makes her shudder at surprise. Appearing in front of others, Yuko wondered why all the students suddenly froze, caught by some invisible tension. Tina was frozen before the destroyed wall. The woman trembles madly. Her breath is intermittent and heavy. On the opposite side, it stands a Hertoid, watching her carefully. Despite the fact that Tina received only minor injuries, weakness still does not release it. The misunderstanding covers the hero because the essence of events slips out of control. The teacher approaches him, and Kijo immediately begins to apologize to her. Tears choke her, and reproaches will pour in hail. How did he dare to use only 30% of force? Such a turn of events causes the boy by surprise, and on his face is a genuine confusion. With trembling in her voice, Tina confesses that she barely managed to resist his magic. If at least for a moment we weakened, even the center of the city would have swept away the destruction. Usually, at home, Haruto behaves in the same way. It is not necessary to compare home practice with classes at the Academy of Magic. There you have to spend a lot of time creating many levels of protection. Tina reproaches the boy, confessing that she barely withstanding his magic on his magic. But he just looks at her. Haruto's ears are anxious whispering of classmates. It is considered too dangerous. They wonder where he has so much force. Even a shadow that reached 250 levels barely coped with his magic. Didn't someone secret his power secret? After completing the lesson, the mentor tells the students of its end and promises to contact them later. The class obediently executes the order of Tina and leaves the audience. Meanwhile, the girl appeals to Haruto, asking to stay. He hoped for such a conversation. On the territory of the academy, the guy turns to the girl with an awareness, sincerely asking for an apology. The girl promises to resolve all the disorder and reminds you. She asked not to be fulfilled. Calm consent sounds in response. Tina confesses that she always thought, he will leave this world, squeezing something in her hands. And in these words, she made Haruto surprise her eyes in surprise. Having pulled a broken object from the backstage, the girl confesses. If it were not for this thing, her life would have long been breaking. The hero's gaze slides to a familiar stone pendant. It was always that Tina was wearing this decoration. It is a guess. He is suspicious. Is this thing a magical artifact? The nod recognizes the truth. This protection really exists and works only when its life is threatened with a deadly danger. However, the forces will be enough only once, and tears appear in the eyes. The girl confesses that this charming artifact was given to her by a particularly close person. Haruto apologizes with confusion in the voice, confessing that he did not even know such, and assures that he was ready to fulfill any request, only tears would disappear from her face. Her request, thrown into the air, is lost between the sounds. Her words never reach. Tina appeals to spend this night together, as it was once. In memory, Gerudo pops out his long-standing promises. The girl confidently states that he will now fulfill her every word. Smiling, Gerudo agrees and wonders if she is fine. Loudly shouting that everything is fine with her, the girl rushes to hug her. With a smile on his mouth, the guy assures that he has nothing. Tears of joy shine in the eyes of Tina when the girl thanks him from the bottom of the heart. Turning to Haruto, the girl confesses that she was a true horror. Again and again his apology, full of sincere repentance. Warm touches it give his hair amazing calm, and she confesses. Next to the body of Haruto, anxiety retreats. In the evening silence, Tina whispers gently about the fact that their dream will be common, not only to this night, but from now on. Always. Her words find a response in the boy's heart, and he listens carefully to each confession. The hero, with a genuine surprise, is interested. What caused her occurrence? Fears cover her. As soon as he begins to tell him the story, he will fall asleep much later. With a smile, he assures that everything is fine, proposes to share the story, eagerly listens to her story. The hero thinks that even the crazy wealth and influence of the father are not able to make this girl a mercenary for the state. She will not buy her exceptional abilities either in gold or position, and it seems that she has repeatedly rejected the official proposals from the government on her own. In the times when there were no foreign heroes on Earth, even the graphic Graf did not dare boldly to do what he pleased, if they were in front of them a person who was equal to the force with the legendary hero. For a long time, Tina was among the legendary heroes who came from another world to challenge the owner of the demons. Among all the heroes, one special figure glowed for her, the person she was fond of heart. Nevertheless, in the general society, his presence went almost unnoticed. It was worth finding out about the monster's attack on villages or cities, as he immediately raced to the scene. It was only because of him that they had the courage to challenge a huge invasion of monsters, she confessed. Although he was not destined to overcome the demonic king, he remained a true hero for her, with whom she loved to spend time. Bright memories were bursting into the memory of Tina, as she stood in front of the hero in tears, pleading in a pleasure whether he was able to understand it. The puzzled Gyuto cannot understand what it was. And it is when the maid shares her story, telling how she fell in love with that man, her voice is heard in the room. She calls for help to save the hero and provide him with medical care. According to the girl, the rules determine. Having defeated the owner of the demons, the characters return to their world. I could not even imagine that any of them would be attracted to life or people that are her reality. Nevertheless, the man responded to her request. The maid assured that their connection had never crossed the allowed limits. Around her, naivety, because she has no idea about such. And this purity causes compassion, mixed with a barely noticeable joy. The girl shares that her happy days ended with the victory of the comrades of that man over the master of demons. Haruto's surprise has no limits. Did those heroes realize that they could stay in this world? This question is answered in the affirmative. Tina assures that the man made every effort to stay with her, but the circumstances were stronger than her. The satellite adds, she is in front of her heroic legacy, because she is the grandson of the previous hero, who was also forced to leave the family and return to her world. Haruto finally comes the terrible truth. The fact that he recently crushed was a fragment of a magic protective stone, donated by the shadow of the hero himself. Somehow there was an unusual wave of magic. In this world, a creature appeared with a force similar to the one she remembered. The maid unexpectedly shares her suspicions. In her eyes, the young man is not just a stranger, but a true embodiment of his previous life. The surprise immediately affects the boy's face. She adds that in her words about his magical power, there can be no mistake. At least, it seemed at first glance. The embarrassed Haruto is hastily trying to justify himself, assuring that everything is not true. The girl with unexpected confidence states that the young man is a degenerate soul. This hero instantly understands that no secret is hidden in front of her. Sometimes, Tina confesses, she comes to her mind. And suddenly it was he. Every day, carefully watching his training, she increasingly captured the flats of the hero, which gradually manifested themselves in the image of Haruto, and followed him in the way of him. The girl was hoping that he was the embodiment of the same man from the past. Hugging Kijo, Tina confesses that she misses him as ever. Haruto is interested in the excitement in his voice, whether she is well with him, and hears sincere confirmation in response. Burning with determination, the hero promises to surpass the man for the sake of his safety and saving the world, and asks, will she remain with him now? Hardly holding back tears, Tina assures that of course she will always be near him. In the head of Gyudo finally matures a clear goal. The desire to become stronger is strongly settled in consciousness. Stronger even than a hero who overcame the king of demons. Worthy of becoming a defender of Tina and the whole world. It was she who loved such a man. At dawn, the maid wakes the hero carefully, inviting him to join breakfast. With an interesting glitter in her eyes, the girl gently stretches forward and asks whether the hero allows her to do something, and then she easily touches his face. Her kiss finds a response. The guy gently answers the same. It seems as if the curse has deprived him of his chance to raise the level. But in front of him there are still many other ways. Confessing to her own inexperience, Tina still asks Haruto to take care of her from now on, enthusiastically calling him her hero. The young man dreams of power, confident. The authority gained will make him a recognized sage around the world. It will fight for the title of the strongest magician of the first level, dreaming of gaining the glory of the hero. The academy meets them in a cloudy morning, which further emphasizes the devastation around. Haruto remembers destruction and catches himself in mind. The most easy anxiety has pushed him to get out of his house earlier. He wondered if they were still repairing the training ground he had destroyed, and heard that the workers had completed all the restoration work last night. The young man notices how the events are rapidly unfolding, and Tina explains that several extremely skillful dwarves were already waiting for them. The girl remembers the staff meeting in the letter, and the hero advises her to protect herself. Crossing the threshold of the corridor, Haruto immediately notes the perfect repair. All breathes around the upgrade. In his thoughts, he boiled. At the beginning of life, there were many events. The gratitude to Tina remained. It was thanks to her teaching that the door to the witchcraft opened before him. Now in his arsenal magic with any attribute, going to the class, it thinks that if the influence of the aristocracy is so powerful, even in the case of its first level opening, the chances of coping with the situation still remain. Despite the impact of a powerful family, he seeks to use all available means, because they have two goals. Suddenly, the female voice breaks silence, passionately noting that his magic was a real miracle yesterday. It was Yuko who was behind his back. Even her frightening the power of his magic, confesses that the power of this magic causes a true fear in it. Haruto wondered how much time she is in class. In response, the girl noted that she appeared here long before he crossed the threshold. Yesterday's Tina phrase pops out in memory. There were only 8. The hero is wondering if Yuko was on the training ground yesterday, because no one saw magic from it. Turning his finger to him, the girl confidently reminds that he was already witnessing her magic. The girl has wondered if anyone has noticed her absence at workout, and smiles sadly. Her magic is precisely to make herself almost invisible, to erase her own presence to a minimum. The hero notes that it will now be much more difficult to see it for others. She explains that it is the magic of the highest level, a protective spell that makes it difficult for enemies to cause her physical harm. Yuka already wanted to point out that few people were able to use it when Haruto interrupted her. He was interested in the force that restrains her tails. Is not the other magic hidden under the cover of mystery? It is insanely surprised by these unexpected words. A view full of threats, whether he notices her tails. Confessing that from yesterday she barely notices them, Gerudo suddenly pauses. Something unexpected causes him a real fright. Outing his tails, Yuko cannot believe his own eyes. An incredible sight opens before him. A naturally promising death, he states in a cold tone that he sees no other way out. An incomprehensible feeling of anxiety covers Joe. Something suggests that she has become truly dangerous. Calling a girl to stop her words, the hero asks, "Are they not comrades?" In her thoughts, she admits. In front of her is someone unusual, and with the present level of strength she never defeat him. Slowly, and with a noticeable tension in his voice, the hero is interested. Does she hear it all that he tries to convey? The guy promises to keep a secret if it is important to her. In response, she sighs. They say, "There is no choice," and directs the tail to his direction. The girl grabs Gyuto by her hand, squeezing her fingers firmly, and suddenly pulls to herself. The lost guy breaks out in surprise and asks what is happening. The warm kiss of Yuko gently touches his palm. The girl reports that he concludes a contract, after which a mysterious symbol arises in the air. Easy pain paves the path of the boy's body. The moment of weakness makes him make himself for excessive safety. Is this magical power left him at least the slightest chance of resistance? The mysterious symbol suddenly appears on the hero's hand, as if the answer to his unspoken doubts. Yuko hides her tails, and Teruto indignantly points out that he is now unable to move as freely as before. At first it seems that the girl disappeared with his tails, and suddenly she states, "Everything happened," announces the completion of the contract between the owner and the slave, solemnly promising to serve under his protection. The nine-tailed fox is a demon whose strength increases directly in proportion to the amount of magic accumulated in tails. Legends argue that these creatures are able to accept human likeness. People fear that with age, these foxes can cause destructive natural disasters. Yuka shares her plan. He arrived in this academy to gather as much magical power as possible. Having mastered the ability to enslave the mind with the help of charms, she is convinced that as soon as it accumulates enough energy, be able to use it and conquer everyone who learns here. Aruto strictly replies to her that it really is, but only smiles in response, stating that the hostage of this school is just the first step in its big plan. With a spark of greatness in the eyes, the girl predicts, "The day will come when the whole world shudders from its mighty influence." Turning to the guy, she mysteriously asks if he will become her companion on his way to power. Again, a harsh reprimanded. She throws harsh words, urging to forget about these dangerous ideas. Yuko with interest asks why he is not enthusiastic about the perspective, having such power. After all, uniting with her, he can conquer the whole world one day. Reflecting, Haruto remembers how God was called immediately after God was called. A thirst for become invincible in this world broke out in his soul. If it were not for the curse, the words spoken then, they could well be stored in his heart. Instead of dreams of world domination, the guy immediately makes it clear that he does not seek the glory of the master demons. His call of the hero calls him. The ominous Yuko is not even interested in what he sounded from his mouth. The girl is wondering if Haruto intended to take advantage of the charming force that is hidden in her tails when he first saw them. According to her, nine-tailed foxes are a true natural disaster. That is why the guy hid the truth about her, isn't it? Yuko is suddenly weak. Tears perform in her eyes, and the hero is lost in guesses, not understanding what the girl is. An incomprehensible pain seems to tear her head in half. In the memory of the girl, paintings of her childhood, when she was still a small chanterelle, strangers met her views, talked about an unprecedented price that could be rescued for her, and without hesitation, hunted, trying to grab. The fuss rise around, strangers grasp her firmly, and fear covers thoughts, penetrating the soul with cold. Her voice is filled with people, including heroes. In the memory, lightning flashes the mention of the majestic nine-tailed fox, which appears in front of her. The loud cry of Evko is heard among the crowd. He does not let anyone into his mother and states Haruto that even the characters do not have all the power. The question sounds, why should you kill them as soon as you see? The concern of the fox is wondered if the hero will take her into his own power until she is too young for it. Haruto's warm hand lay on her head. This gesture he made it clear that she completely shares her feelings. Yuko widened her eyes in surprise. The guy recalled that he said, "No one is going to talk about it, and even thoughts should not abuse her abilities." Removing, the girl quit the question. What about the contract just concluded by her? The hero confidently states, "Why this contract at all? He has no power. Even without it, I would not cause you harm because we are classmates with you." Therefore, it calmly allows the fox to break the arrangement. Yuko is confused. It is too difficult for her. The young sorceress notes that in order to be in the care of higher power, she had to create a special connection using the magical power of one of her tails. This connection was incredibly powerful. It is simply impossible to break it. Haruto's voice is interested in whether he will handle this task. According to the forest, the termination of the contract will cause serious harm to it, and the consequences can turn out to be a huge problem for her. That is why she will try not to allow him to take this step. The guy is uncertain about whether this unilateral agreement is unprofitable for Yuko, and wants to know what is the contract. Suddenly, the details of this contract flash in his head. The girl will agree to obey all his orders if nothing threatens her life. She asks curious whether everything is clear to him now. Lisa promises to give him everything except his own life, and on her palm appears the same sign as in Haruto. Having reached out, the hero gently touches her head and confesses that for some reason he is stroked. In response, Yuko protests sharply and violently. Awareness of what a strong attraction he has suffered is encouraging to protect it. The class goes hands, and his careful look immediately distinguishes them among others. Before his eyes, a strange picture unfolds. Yuko was comfortable on the knees of Gyuto. The voice can be heard as a surprise and a cunning smile when he is interested in what is happening here, and notes that they have already become too close. Having said this, the hero gently asks the girl to return to her place, because all others will soon gather here. He unquestionably agrees, they say. If her master wants it, then she will fulfill any desire. Yuko's heart envelops a pleasant warmth, touching the caring palm of Haruto, which gently strokes her like a pet, fills her with unspeakable joy. The hero is surprised that he now has an obedient demonic abyss, whose power is equal to a natural disaster. On the way home, Tina tries to say something, but Garuto is ahead of her. Did she have already noticed something important? Asking if someone is behind, there is a confirmation in response. Yes, there is really someone standing there. The girl appeals to Yuko to leave. Lisa appears on stage with a barely noticeable smile. She has no doubt Tina is sure to notice her, even despite the absence of any family relationship between them. The maid thanks you politely for the good words, but she is interested. Why the young lady follows them, and what exactly did she mean, remembering a contract? In response, Haruto assures that he will reveal all the details. Hearing this story, the shadows have opened all the truth. He accuses Yuko of being no more than a demon who had mastered him, and then begins to create magic, calling for mysterious forces. The surprised hero, along with the fox, cannot understand why Tina was angry. The atmosphere in the estate is tense to the limit. The new moon stands for a girl who holds Tina. Despite its indignation, the guy tries to handle everything in words, showing firmness and coolness. The tension increases, but the hero retains calm and does not allow the events to get out of control. Blinded by fear, the fox girl shakes back, tangled in her own dress. The alarm changed her face. It is called for its master to help, and suddenly a mysterious voice appears in the air, which reproaches. The agreement is concluded only for the sake of personal gain. Focused and decisive, the girl turns to her master, Haruto. Her posture seems to radiate confidence, and a vigilant look only increases the tension of this decisive moment. A concerned gentleman is rapidly intercepting the road between Tina and Lise, decisively interfering with a further conflict. In a sharp voice, he insists that Tina calms down, trying to discharge the tension. Meanwhile, the fox is wary of the development of events, covered by fear and confusion. Haruto's decisive gesture demonstrates his hand, where there is no trace of magical seal, is a convincing proof of his freedom from the contract. The fox's look is attentive, as if he were trying to read the truth in his eyes. The confidence in the hero's voice shows that he is now able to control events and will not be exposed to any charm. Puzzled characters try to understand the situation. Having examined the results of the analysis of his status, the young man concludes that the agreement almost did not affect him. However, the inner doubt remains, and it hints. It is likely that the curse still holds him in his tenets, although Yuko is confident in the opposite. Under the vigilant and somewhat annoyed look of one of the heroines, Haruto unexpectedly finds himself in the gentle embrace of a fox who shines with joy. Her satisfied smile and pleasure from touching are surprised, mixed with a slight confusion. A strict gentleman with a decisive look orders to get up and turn around him. In his voice, there is an indomitable will. The fright fills the whole essence of the fox. She hurries the order, barely holding back the trembling, which is covered by panic and confusion when they are forced to spin in place and say, "Moo." The strange views and passionate exclamations of others only emphasize the absurdity of this punch. With unchanged enthusiasm, the hero shows how Yuko undoubtedly obeys any of his instructions, forcing her to voice his words. Tina watches this with noticeable uncertainty and barely noticeable embarrassment. With tears in her eyes and red-haired cheeks, the girl tries to retain dignity and reminds, she is not a cat, but a fox. The feeling of insults burns in the soul, but the order still holds it in its power. The worried girl shares with Haruto with doubts about the potential danger. Despite the fact that Yuko is already conquered, her power remains a cause for anxiety. The heroine does not leave the question. Should creature be trusted with such dangerous abilities? Calmly extending his hand to the gentleman, the fox demonstrates confidence and readiness for decisive action. In the eyes, determination was burning, as if it had just set a serious goal. Touching Yuko's hands with unwavering determination, Haruto imposes a restriction on her. The girl perceives these conditions calmly when a magical light flashes in her eyes. All this is closely monitored by the observer without hiding his interest. The girl's palm suddenly cuts a shimmering magical symbol that causes her to open her eyes wide. Her pupils flash, and the air around is filled with sparkling magic. In all its form, confusion melts. Instead, there is a determination to take a new, mysterious connection. The hero confidently takes the girl by the hand, telling why he decided to keep her nearby to be able to control her every step. The faces of both reflect firm determination and calm confidence. From now on, the responsibility for the fate of the girl is completely on his shoulders. The heart of the main character is full of anxiety for the safety of Haruto-sama. The appearance of a demon nearby seems to her a true threat. Additional excitement is also the fact that Yuko is a girl, and this fact only enhances her internal experiences. The unusual sign on the palm does not slip from the attention of Tina. The fingers involuntarily squeeze it, and in deep eyes, anxiety mixed with a real surprise. A wicked smile appears on the mouth of a girl with long golden hair, as if a cunning plan ripens in her head. Such a clear irony is completely contrary to the naive question of the interlocutor. The young man, stunned, grabs Tina by his shoulder, trying to find out what is happening. Tina, however, brings up his eyebrows, almost annoyed, but he is chanting emotions, holding back herself. Yuko's face wanders a barely noticeable smile. In her look plays a confidence mixed with impatient expectations. She seems to have felt in advance what it would lead to, and now she is only convinced of her preferences. The girl confidently steps into the spacious hall of the estate, keeping the way to Haruto. In her look, determination, thoughts are focused on her own circumstances and on how to turn the current situation in her favor. Sticking in the dream of dreams, Yuko imagines himself in the gentle embrace of the Lord, where romance is in the air. A satisfied smile blooms on the mouth, and the imagination is already born a bold plan for the coming night. Belief in their own appeal and unknown designs give strength. Tina goes to the room and finds an unexpected picture. Haruto, along with his license girl, rest on the bed, her eyes burning, and she asks what he does in bed. Yuko, without losing his self-control, calmly explains, "Here is the safest place for her." The girl in the nightgown boldly wraps the pillow. Her unexpected appearance causes the boy and his companion by surprise, only increasing the tension in and so fragile. The flame of indignation broke out on the girl's face. She strictly reproaches her interlocutor for unacceptable behavior, emphasizing that in this story, she is in fact his mentor. The girl's cheeks flare up with a blush, and the voice rings from indignation. With a peculiar inflammation, she categorically requires explanation why she is forbidden to sleep next to Geruto-sama, considering all the arguments of the opponent absurd and unjustified. Suddenly passionate and a little surprised, the guy with a smile offers shadows to join the girls in bed. The tension instantly disappears, giving way to a funny disorder, as if in a real harem romantic comedy. The whole band is preparing to sleep together, trying to hide the inconvenience that hangs in the air. Once in the heart of the plot, Aruto stands between two girls who firmly clung to him from opposite sides. The boy's face is confusion and a slight surprise. A smiling gentleman with delight invites Yuko to join their company. They sparkle hearts and a soft glow that wraps the scene with romance. Meanwhile, another girl watching it plunges into reflections, feels a light image, and thinks of her own attractiveness. Sadness draws a shadow on her face, and tired eyes shine. Lightly lowering her head and wiping her tears, she is quietly admitted to cook breakfast. The mood was noticeably spoiled. In a cozy room, the carefree sleep of the young man saves a fluffy fox with several tails, which will be gently flickering to him. The picture is full of warmth and tenderness, because the moment of their peace looks truly touching. Tina, smiling gently, contemplates the sleepy Garado and Yuko, which is steeping peacefully near the bed. Standing on the side, she says with ease in his voice, "It is simply impossible to get angry with this." The pleasant aroma is pouring around the room, and one of the girls is curious, wondering what is happening. A calm answer is heard from the plate. Something special is being prepared for breakfast. A delicious dish is adorned on the table. 6 slices of toast are neatly laid on a tray. One of the characters, passionately staring at the treat, exclaims, "What a taste!" A slight shade of admiration appears on Yuko's face. As soon as she tastes a dish, every piece brings real pleasure. Not holding back smiles, she is wondering if he can also taste. The room feels comfort and warmth, characterized by mornings when breakfast is divided into 2. The beauty whose cheeks are thrusted from delicious food, taste goodness with obvious pleasure. In her eyes and smile, a whole kaleidoscope of feelings plays, and each piece gives a true gastronomic pleasure. The dish was a true bliss. The focused look of the girl is drunk in a plate with food, as if every piece is of particular importance. A friendly smile plays on the maid's face. She gladly reports that she has prepared Mr. Haruto's favorite dish. Her look reads confidence and pride in the efforts. With sparkling in the eyes of Yuko exclaims that she has never tasted anything so delicious before. Sincere pleasure speaks in every feature of her face. Having thought for a moment, Tina is barely noticeably smiling and with unreasonable confidence asserts, "It is quite easy to prepare it." The little chanterelle, glowing with delight, is interested in gusting whether he can prepare it, and hotly asks to teach it to this art. With a friendly smile on the mouth, the heroine is wondering whether he can seek help with household chores, because from now on the interlocutor will be under the care of Haruto-sama. The star maid Tina shares with Yuko the secrets of homework. Failures, for example, left in the bowl of an egg, cause a young assistant anxiety. However, training is in a friendly, warm atmosphere filled with liveliness and support. Carefully practicing with the omelet, the girl barely restrains confusion. The mentor is constantly pouring teaching. A wave of information on the separation of egg mass, the mysterious properties of copper is capable of confusing anyone. Not standing, in despair she exclaims that time is just not enough for all. Proud with its creation, the fox completes the preparation of the omelet and exclaims joyfully. As soon as someone bites a piece, appetizing juices are immediately poured out of the juicy dish. Obviously, culinary skills made a great impression. Yuko admires the fruits of his own efforts, wondering how dramatically a few drops of amber sauce can transform the taste of ordinary eggs. With a gentle smile, he serves the dish on the table, imagining, like Haruto, overflowing with gratitude, lifts her in his arms. Fantasy draws a joyful moment before the eyes, deserved recognition and warm words of praise for all efforts. Having happy with her own tamgoiki, Tina with a barely hidden pride enjoying her culinary victory. Now such a delicacy is available to her at any moment. Meanwhile, behind it, Yuka looks nervously at an almost empty box with eggs, anxiously thinking about their fast end. During the morning hassle, the chanterelle woke up whether the protagonist woke up, and Tina, immersed in her own thoughts, was detained for a moment. Meanwhile, the dwelling was slowly filled with movement and sounds, waking up after a good night. After graduating from the morning jog, the main character completely plunged into the focus right in the middle of the garden. From the shade she watched the maid carefully, occasionally sharing her impressions with others. The decisive glitter in the look. And Gyudo steps to Tina, asking him to teach him to own fire. A long, focused look silently begs for a response, and the blurring of the outside world goes to the background. The girls are vividly discussing the daily training of the main character, admiring his incredible self-discipline. It turns out, still small, only at the age of 5, the boy has already attracted harsh loads. Since then, he has hardened himself without rest. The inspiration that gives the young hero the power of the protective barrier mansion burns in it, a fervent admiration for the prospect of combining various types of magic. The desire for knowledge burns in the eyes, reflecting the unbreakable determination to master even more complex magic. Despite the caring smile, the words of Haruto Seats give a fatigue that is difficult to hide. He is forced to re-impose protective witchcraft every night. It gradually takes away his life forces. Finally, Tina comes to the real reason for her devotion to Haruto-sama. This person is not just a patron for her, but a true source of strength and inspiration. Her thoughts are intertwined around the patron saint. Incredible working capacity and dedication have always impressed. According to admiration, there is a quiet respect and a secret hope that all efforts will not become futile. It seemed that this person was no different from others, but the insightful look discovered new features that had not been noticed before. true sincerity, and unusual kindness caused an unexpected sympathy in the hero. The realization that a change is ripe inside. The new ability to notice the depth, not just superficial manifestations, has become the first proof of its internal formation. With unconcealed enthusiasm, Yuko extends the fruits of his work, inspiring, emphasizing diligence, and fervently hoping to earn approval. This scene reveals the moving dynamics of subordination, which is intertwined with care, between the hero and his patron. The fundamental Tina categorically denies the shelter for those who are not able to pay, demonstrating a real entrepreneurial grip. However, the unexpected mention of Yuko makes a touch of embarrassment, skillfully hinting at the hidden relationship between the actors. He is delighted. Haruto chokes to emotions, trying to pick up words to describe the divine taste of the dish. The capture overwhelms, and every pause in his speech only enhances the feeling of sincere, almost childish joy. Joy covers the hero. He eagerly expects the moment when everything comes true. The girl, in response with a smile, promises to divide her food with him. A sincere smile blossoms on Yuko's face, and his fists give her determination. The soul covers the unspeakable heat. In this gravity of happiness, it feels a new, strong connection. Her family has just become more than another close person. A few days after recent events, when the teacher announces the stunning news, the decisive battle between classes will take place in 3 days. Upon learning that the rivals will be high school students, young heroes are covered by surprise and anxiety. The doubts are squeezed into the hearts of freshmen on the eve of an important battle. Despite the alarming looks and indecision, one student confidently assures his comrades, everything will be the best. Interrupting the class, the teacher shares news about the future tournament between courses. Although the participants lack the experience, the mentor inspires confidence. Everyone can meet in duel, even with senior rivals. With confidence in his voice, the teacher turns to the students, assuring that they are not equal among future rivals. The responsible moment is approaching. The mentor is about to announce the names of 5 participants who will win the honor of their course in the coming competition. Both teams are lining up opposite each other. Unbreakable determination and excitement, fire burning in the eyes of freshmen, and opposite, the calm confidence and inner strength of senior students. The air hangs in the air. Everyone is waiting for the competition. Having met with a team of rivals, one of the students fades with surprise. Her eyes are extended. Her face flashes a mixture of grip and easy anxiety. This unusual aura of strangers captures attention and causes admiration. The elderly students make the freshmen, tossing their cavities of using dating and not forgetting to threaten. The atmosphere is becoming more and more on the eve of the fight. Semi-year-olds, who met with Lujanans in the duel at the ceremony, may well appear again, saying revenge. The question is, what is their true power? At first, a wave of surprise, which quickly changed confusion, fell. They did not predict such a course of events. The stagnation rolled him. The realization that the power of the opponents has no limits, covered with a wave of shock. The reaction of the boys, the shirt is surprised, mixed with indignation. Can such arrogance be afforded by high school students? The heads do not fit that these senior students really take several courses higher. The hero seeks to make sure that the magical power is manifested only in special circumstances. For example, when someone else is used by someone, or if the observer has the wisdom and experience of a real magician. After learning that the opponents were the same villains as who had recently had to deal with, the moon froze. On her face, an alarming pallor appeared, which did not go unnoticed for friends. They immediately felt her excitement. The excited voice of one of the girls comes to the moon. She wondered if everything was fine with her. The face of the moon has frozen in tension. The girl tells how during the ceremony it was Haruto who came to her help with Ryuk. Although the disease makes itself known, it does not agree to leave the hall. Instead, it remains persistently among others. A smile blooms on his face. It remains here because he wants to thank everyone personally. The boys are mocking from the ELN, thinking something wrong. Having guessed the persons of their abusers, women are obviously preparing to repel. Among the ringing scene of the scene, the moon is invited to join other artists, and its view is scattered. Thoughts are moving away from the present. Bright memories of a recent visit to the restaurant captivated the girl's imagination, so that the world around us is somewhere in the background. Overwhelmed with determination, the elfish steps on the arena and immediately calls for the help of magical forces. Willingness to defend the honor of her class is burning in her eyes. It is time to show true skill. The audience repository roars the conversations. Young observers are vividly discussing the upcoming match and already anticipating a spectacular fight. Among the crowd, someone distinguishes a mysterious melody that appeared in the podium. Meanwhile, the tension is ignited below. The older and younger are preparing to come together in a fierce duel. From the younger classes, the savvy Kishko girl joined the team, learning that he would have to resist high school students. She was worried. But in her gaze, determination broke out. A difficult match ahead, but she is not going to give up. Relaxed by throwing his hands behind his head, Neo with a slight smile backs to his comrades, expressing doubt about the power of his rivals. Meanwhile, in the depths of the stage, they listen carefully to her words, Rushin and another figure. After exhausting workout with a tiny Gargula Santo as a sparring partner, the students barely hold on their feet. On the high pedestal, a mysterious creature is observed from above, and from the bottom is closely monitored by high school students, evaluating what they saw. The self-confident heroine calmly voices her faith in victory, not hiding the stability before the coming test. Confidence speaks in a decisive look and a casual posture. No shadow of doubt. Two students die opposite each other, getting ready to start a duel. The Elfian agrees with the advice of the river to act carefully. First of all, she decides to focus on winning one of the opponents. The view full of faith inspires Leifu. Sincere words of support awaken in her confidence on the eve of an important event. The opponent smiles boldly, challenging frank challenges. A clear ridicule sounds in the tone. In the arena, the Elpheus throws a confident, full of call. Even under the pressure of provocations and pressure, it retains unmoved peace and confidence, focusing on the future of the duel. Focusing magical energy, it lifts crazy wind streams around it. The air is immediately saturated with mana, predicting the birth of a mighty attack. In the swing of the battle, one of the present at the podium looks carefully around, suddenly noticing the absence of someone from their company. Talking to other viewers, she suddenly stops, noticing something unusual. The observers' hall rises a lively discussion about the course of events in the arena. One of the girls points out that the opponent underestimated Leifu, so that is what enabled her a considerable stock of magical power. Despite the remarks of others, it reserves confidence in its own conclusions about the situation. The arena instantly finds himself in the captivity of a powerful flurry of charming wind raised by Alifa. One of the girls does not stay on their feet and falls, but the guy quickly responds, supports her, grabbing in his arms and saving from a painful blow. After the fall, the hero is face to face with the girl. Their views intersect. The air hangs in the air, a little awkward silence. The cheeks of both burn with a blush. Hearts are crazy, creating a moment of light but noticeable romantic tension. Brawn with embarrassment after her salvation, the girl lifts her gaze on the hero. Her rescuer answers her with a calm half-stir, catching her eyes. Suddenly, a sister stands in front of his eyes. This spectacle stuns the heroine. Perhaps she would try to justify Mei, they say. She only expressed his gratitude for Haruto for his care. The sister sincerely thanks the boy for rescuing I have, and at the same time asks him not to approach the girl too closely. In her words, there is anxiety, and possibly a shade of jealousy. The sudden gust of wind rises near the building, and in its stream Haruto is stunned, and watches with surprise that it unfolds before the eyes. The sudden explosion of magical energy breaks from the palms of the bodice, covering the surrounding space with a dazzling glow and forcing Haruto to die in a full surprise. Everyone gets away from the unexpected outbreak of magical energy that breaks out of the heroine. One of the attendees does not restrain the cry of surprise, and the younger student mentally approves her determination. The fists squeeze to the linen. All the emotions of the elder took the top. Anger and tension prepare it for the future duel. Despite the fact that it is a beginner, the threat seems no less real. Moments of breath. The character's eyes are wide open from admiration. The stunned hero suddenly exclaims the name of the heroine, and behind him another calls with strong joy. All this testifies. Now they witness something incredibly amazing and unexpected. Strenuously focusing, the girl creates a spell. The look is harsh. The fingers weave magical runes in the air. Her determination is felt even at a distance. A moment, and a powerful witchcraft is ready to break out, to split the silence of a decisive battle. The powerful magic spell of Leifa with a roar rejects the enemy far back. A desperate cry, full of panic and unbearable pain, erupts into an enemy who is unable to withstand the destructive power of the blow. A powerful blow to the girl made magic suddenly scattered in the air. Panic was among the students. Someone grabbed their heads, indignantly complained about the lack of a protective barrier. Another one rushed to warn everyone away, but did not have time to arrange how both clumsily fell to the floor. The confusion and pain appear on the faces of all the heroes, even a cube that is frozen in the foreground. Some of them slowly come to their senses, trying to get up, while others, knocked down, still lie on the ground, trying to master themselves after an unexpected blow. The confused Leifa fades in front of his classmate, who is incredibly pleased with the just-seen witchcraft. On the side, Tina is watching closely, and a mysterious, knowing smile blooms on her face. A classmate does not hide the joy of unexpected events. The teacher, smiling satisfies, expresses the heroine of admiration for her destructive force, easily mentioning the past battle. Among the chaos, she proudly emphasizes her efforts, through which the magic barrier remained unwavering. A barely noticeable smile illuminates Tina when he explains. Even a teacher barrier is not able to restrain the magic of her student. Meanwhile, one of the mentors pervades the awareness. The forces they are dealing with, far exceeding the usual idea. Panic instantly covers the teacher. It is difficult to believe what happened in the eyes. The attack went far beyond the limits, and with all the appearance it makes it clear that the events unfolded at all as expected. The expression on the face says, "Control of the situation is irreversibly lost." The angered teacher breaks the rod in half, declaring the violation of the established rules. It is a sharp and decisive act, enhanced by a wave of emotions, even more acutely emphasizes the tension of the situation and the likelihood of strict consequences. The 7th course students are lying on the ground, exhausting all their strength. The powerless look has frozen in their eyes. A wave of surprise is spreading around. Observers are actively discussing how incredibly the first curls have managed to destroy the protective barrier of the mentor. This incredible triumph of a young magician becomes recognized by all present, hardly holding back irritation. The teacher squeezes his jaws from rage, without drawing a look from a smug shadow. Her confident smile only feeds on an outrageous atmosphere. It seems to be frankly rejoicing in her triumph and the effect he had on others. The motionless look of one of the characters monitors the events, while in the shadow of the scene is indignant due to injustice. This is about breaking the borders and brazen intervention of foreigners, which no one is about to tolerate. The cheerfully indignant teacher, and without confusing what has happened, Edgar calls loudly. The surprise of a lost guy is read in every movement. No idea, which is why this unexpected attention falls on him. The voltage in the air is only increasing. At the end of the scene, a powerful fighter, known as a secret weapon, suddenly appears. His face expresses surprise, because before that, they were ordered to stay away and not interfere. A strange, mysterious subject is in the hands of the hero through the support of the faithful ally. Unexpectedly, opponents resort to insidious tricks, which predicts difficult tests ahead and resembles time to change the strategy. The arena explodes by chaos after an unexpected turn of events. Golden Vanhard girl demonstrates an incredible power, dealt with 4 opponents. Her courage and strength cause passionate exclamations among the audience. With a smile of confidence, the high school student teaches the reason for replacing the player, so that the competition lasts without delay. Freshmen support this idea without any objections, immediately demonstrating faith in their own strength. A barely restrained annoyance was read on the student's face when thoughts were involuntarily returned to the weird teacher's behavior. The released words emphasized the absurdity of events, frankly demonstrating the gap between hopes and how everything is actually unfolding. The forces of the hero on the verge, the exhaustion takes its sleep leaves its side, despite a frantic lack of energy. 2 days without rest, and it begins to disturb everyone who is nearby. The brilliant attack was successful, and the ally immediately swayed Leifu praise. The long-haired beauty splashed to the ears when praised words were heard. The clumsy posture and the surprised look are clear about embarrassment. She did not expect such attention. Among the 3 girls is a joyful and exciting uplift. 2 of them shine from happiness, willingly share the news about praise from the teacher. Meanwhile, the 3rd, with a focused and calm look, directs its attention forward, as if thinking over something meaningful and preparing for an important step. A girl with a serious look confidently assures a friend, He will bring him back to life even when death seems inevitable. At the same time, deep surprise and oppression cover the guy. Under pressure from his perseverance, he barely finds the strength to answer something. In the conversation of the girls, the unexpected arrival of Edgar Sana creates new hopes. One of them is convinced that his combat skills make him the perfect opponent for Ryushan. Although its appearance was not part of any scenarios, now everything can go in a completely different way. The arena explodes with tension. A fighter is confidently erupted among the participants, from whom it blows with determination and passion. The judges motionlessly signal to prepare the next rivals, watching the competition carefully. With a gamble smile on the face, the long-haired hero instantly accepts a battle stand, radiating inexhaustible confidence. His determination and frantic energy is almost noticeable. A real warrior, completely ready for a serious match. A slightly tired enemy looks away and reluctantly scratches the nape of the nape. It seems that the prospect of the fight does not please him. Without visible passion, he still accepts the inevitability of battle, although doubts do not give him rest. A strict girl appears in the library, and this causes a noticeable stir and tension among those present. One of the students, in a stack of books to the breast, is hastily reminiscent of deadlines and unresolved tasks. In the meantime, the other retains calm and focuses fully on its business. The elf, with noble appearance and confidence in the smile, appears chairman of the student council. The ease with which he takes responsibility gives others a sense of calm and unwavering confidence. It seems that no situation will slip out of his control. A serious look reflects a deep awareness of the power of a single worthy rival that cannot be exceeded. Meanwhile, the hero he mentioned in amazement, hearing such a sincere recognition. In the arena, one of the participants begins a fight with a demonstrative transformation. His body is covered with scales, and power is raised in every movement. Fascinated by excitement, the young man seeks to impress classmates without hiding his strength. The battle does not subside for a moment. A hero, full of dragon force, shouts, releasing a devastating blow. The heart of the arena shudders, the jump forward tears the floor, and the opponent is ready to meet the next unwavering pressure. In the heat of the strained duel, the air permeated the strength and lightning speed of the enemy. However, in the very decisive moment it becomes clear. His own blow was only a tricky bait. An unexpectedly invisible magic barrier closes around, and now it seems almost impossible to slip out of the trap. The enemy, confusing in the shadows, who has mysterious magic, notices a weak place, opening it after awakening of the dragon force of the hero. Without spending time, the enemy uses the right moment and strikes the unpredictable side. In the midst of a decisive battle, an unexpected sharp blow to the enemy suddenly hit the hero's back. The rapidness of the attack is so stunning that the moment is difficult to understand the events. Circumstances get out of control. Squeezing from a devastating blow, Ryushin falls to the ground without a heart. The enemy, proudly straightening, does not even try to hide a sense of his own superiority. Victory seems to be in his hands. The judge confidently announces a new triumphant, and Ryushin's comrades rush to the hero, covered by anxiety. Once the battle ended, one of the participants strongly takes the initiative and insists on urgent help. With anxiety in the voice, the girl requires immediately to take her to the medical ward to apply the magic of healing. In her eyes, sadness and confidence are mixed when she corrects her own words. The look is determined. The girl defends the honor of her comrades. He denies the accusation with indignation, firmly stating, Ryushin was not at all negligent. A gentle smile illuminates her face, because respect for the opponent, with whom the honor of competing on the way of rest, sincere and deep. The side bike nearby is a tired guy who does not hide drowsiness, but his view gives tribute to the enemy's power. In the conversation, the figure of Edgar Kun, a young man with exceptional talents. It sounds that even by the standards of this prestigious educational institution, it is characterized by special achievements, and also holds a high position in the student council. Another interlocutor readily reinforces Haruda Kun's words, confirming the authority of the hero. After focusing, the melody firmly clenched his fist near her face, carefully evaluating the possibilities of a likely enemy. It worries her cunning technique with a bait. Even a short flash of his rapidness was enough to understand that the opponent has dangerous techniques. The melody stuns the girls with her confession. Some do not hide the surprise how carefully she watched the enemy, noticing his maneuvers. the moon with a classmate immediately dive into a hot discussion, discussing what this unexpected discovery can lead to. With a smile on her face, Tina announces the name of the next participant without looking at the moon. Suddenly frozen, the girl asks in surprise whether her time has come. Sticking on the arena, the melody radiates confidence and unbreakable strength of the spirit. Stressing the posture indicates complete combat readiness. In the depths of consciousness, she lightly weighs her own speed and chances to surpass the opponent. The conversation of students is around whether it is allowed to use supportive magic during battle. Everyone is interested in the intricacies of rules and restrictions. Meanwhile, the moon, focusing deeply on the preparation of the spell, thinks about how dangerous its strength can become, if even in every match its intervention will join. The strict look of the girl shows a deep respect for the power of Edgar. In her eyes, it is an unwavering determination and hidden recognition, as far as the boy's skill strikes. In the midst of a tense battle, one of the girls imposes a supportive spell on the allies, enhancing their combat skills. An unexpected splash of magical power covers her girlfriend, and explodes a new wave of energy, responding rapidly and uncontrollably. In school uniform, a young man appears whom fatigue clearly takes over everything. The guy sighs without hiding dissatisfaction, and barely holds the yawn. Watching the fuss around, mutilation of something about a thirst for sleep, but circumstances still draw him into a swirl of events. At this time, there is a lively discussion on the side. The participants of the conversation are surprised that they are a rare carrier of mascatric magic. The atmosphere of the second battle of the student tournament is exacerbated to the limit. A determined girl is already preparing charming spells, while her ally, full of excitement and anger, swears to take revenge on a friend who was defeated. Directly during a fierce confrontation, the sudden appearance of auxiliary magic is surprising not only the soldiers, but also the audience. The hall is filled with a wave of captured whispers, and judges are wary, realizing that what is happening goes beyond the usual match. From the podium, a girl in the glasses, whose face plays a barely noticeable smile, is watching the fight. With a trick in her voice, she notes a dishonest reception, and hopes that the interlocutor also noticed the insidious trick during the duel. The noisy stands are filled with hot discussions. Students are actively sharing suspicions about unfair completion of the match, citing the possible intervention of the teacher with the help of supportive magic. Chornovichlos. The girl confidently states that there was a clear violation of the rules, because mentors are strictly forbidden to interfere in the competition of their students. Armed with cat ears, the heroine charged with the support of the ally, with a new thirst rushes into the maelstrom of struggle. The miracle reinforcement from the moon demonstrates the striking power of her magic support, clearly emphasizing the girl's talent. The focus and powerful desire to create support focus on her magic. The space explodes with radiant symbols that spread in the air in front of the face. Energy from head to heels permeates every cell of the body, and movements become rapid, and combat determination is stronger with every breath. Unbreakable determination reflects on the girl's face. Her gaze burns with confidence, and every movement is imbued with courage. Sophisticated gestures concentrate around her a mighty magical power. Even a moment, and energy will escape in a rapid, inevitable spell. In the midst of a duel, a girl with animal ears rapidly rushes forward, causing an incredible impact. The enemy meets the onslaught with unmoved confidence, preparing to repel the attack and demonstrate a desperate power. Eurosthenes shocks from an unexpected distance flying forward. The girl demonstrates an unusual battle technique, causing unpredictable attacks. The guy, watching this spectacle, retains peace, although on his face was a barely noticeable curiosity. This approach to the duel really surprised him. Under the pressure of the attack, the young man is barely held on his feet. The protective rack is scattered, and the hasty attempts to repel the rapid blows of the enemy are almost useless. A powerful blow throws the enemy throughout the battlefield. Without chance of protection, he flies into the wall, while a girl with a tail with confidence brings the attack to the end. Driving the thick curtain of the dust, the guy appears in his eyes almost intact. The playful smile was on his face, and confidence and hidden power was felt even in calm words with which he commented on a recent attack. It is covered by determination and confidence. The girl rushes forward with new tactics, hoping to jump the opponent by surprise. The feeling of support gives her strength. With both hands, she directs a powerful offensive. A loud cry cuts the air. With him, a devastating blow to the heroine. decisiveness, and anger are read in each of its Russia. It seems that all strength and despair have been embodied in this one attack, which promises to be crucial. The enemy is suddenly jumped, without having time to recover from such unrestrained pressure. The floor is completely destroyed, cracks are drawn everywhere. The powerful blow of the heroine was so devastating that even a magic shield or protective field could not stand this pressure. The girl on the background, scared by grabbing her head, is in a real shock from the scale of destruction. The disturbed look of the hero, anxious posture. Everything gives off his excitement about the events. From the expression of the face, it becomes clear. The fight again escaped outside the allowed area, and this threatens unpredictable consequences. A girl with cat ears and tail, covered with anger, solidifies in a battle rack, firmly clenching his fists. Determination is burning in her eyes, and dissatisfaction is becoming more and more noticeable. The opponent stubbornly avoids open fight, and does not accept it frankly. In the arena, a fierce confrontation flaunts. One of the students gracefully evades the blows, skillfully puts on accelerating spells, and confidently increases the pace. Gradually, the initiative goes to him. Now his advantage becomes apparent, and he begins to dictate the conditions of battle. The alarm was immediately reflected in the face of the mentor, because everything around was out of control. The expression of his face clearly issued suspicion. The student, apparently, crossed the boundaries of allowed or worse, resorted to prohibited magic. A confident smile of the young man radiates peace and ease when he is defying the opponent's challenge. He emphasizes his own unwavering, provocative gesture and prompts the opponent to attack, leaving no doubt about his power. The hero's face reflects the determination. Every muscle is tense, ready to jump into battle. A fire flashes in the eyes, and a barely noticeable drop of sweat on the temple gives an excitement on the eve of a decisive moment. A felt beast girl with cat ears and tail is rapidly rushing forward, charging a blow with incredible force. Determination glows in the eyes and every movement. The thirst for battle burns in her heart. There is no thought of retreat, only the passion of victory. The next moment, a powerful blow to the girl announcement breaks the air, awakening a thunderous sound, which emphasizes the incredible force of attack. The blinking figure flashed in space cleverly and unmistakably. Despite the frantic pressure, the enemy dares to resist. A girl with cat ears sharply fades, realizing that her destructive blow fell at all where she was targeted. The man in a suit with a cry flies back, and beneath it the earth splits from the frantic force of the attack. The impressions of the scallop immediately appear on the girl's face, just realized that she was trapped again. In her eyes, surprise and anxiety were mixed. Emotions literally overcome the features. On the side, calmly watching, the new moon is not evaluated by a wicked irony. The young man's mouth blossoms in a satisfied smile, and, as if measuring the power of the opponent, calmly proclaims the phrase. The carefree expression of his face does not coincide with the stress that hangs in the air. Without unnecessary words, the young man's hand raised up to surrender. In front of him is a nickel that radiates unwavering confidence. Each feature of the face clearly speaks of the absolute advantage. Everything happens according to her rules. The wide-open eyes of the heroine glow as a surprise, and on the face is a strange misham of admiration and confusion. The unexpected development of events completely knocked out the soil from under his feet it did not predict. The young man in school uniform, raising his hands in the surrender gesture with an indiscriminate peace, recognizes defeat. A light smile and a casual facial expression clearly indicate its complete reconciliation with this fact. Without any tricks, frankly admits, there is no forces for further struggle. The arena, which is traced by a recent clash, has stopped in tension. The judge, puzzled by an unexpected turn, asks the participants' intentions. The young man in the form, while maintaining absolute peace and confidence, without the shadow of hesitation, confirms the decision to surrender. Easy smile and confident look accompany the boy's explanation. The unbreakable beliefs of honor do not allow him to accept the victory gained dishonestly. The passions were barely subsided after the previous duel, as a teacher with a barely noticeable smile reminded that there were no students who are able to continue the battle. But suddenly, everything turns over. The teacher turns to Connie, urging him to enter the arena. The stunned expression of the hero's face flashed in the silence that came after a loud statement. An unexpected battle junction caught it by surprise, especially after the strenuous climax of events. The winner's announcement was unexpectedly. Tina Senses was the winner. The hall was surprised in the hall. The students were looked around, without immediately realizing that the honor of the victory belongs to their team. Before the young man stands a girl with cat ears. Her look is full of confusion. Without lifting her eyes, the guy calmly answers her questions, and there are traces of a recent battle around. A light smile was on the young man's mouth when he apologized to the interlocutor. In the face was reading calm and sincerity. It seemed that the result of the duel suited him, despite everything. The hot discussion of the only completed match fills the air, and the girl, wiping his sweat from his forehead, regrets with regret that someone could not show himself. Her comrades are trying to cheer up, emphasizing that team victory is more valuable than personal services. However, in the eyes of one of the participants, annoyance flashes. These words are clearly not liked. Suspension, one of the students shares his doubts. The forces, as it seems, is not enough to defeat a true opponent, even if the case is turned. The look translates to a friend, hoping to hear support, or at least understanding. A barely noticeable smile wins on the face of a food when reflections carry it far from reality. Imagines what a duel could be if the time of battle came for him. The inviolability of this warrior differs significantly against the background of intense silence, which wrapped the space after the battle. The guy looks thoughtfully into the distance, imagining those magic that he dreams of trying. Meanwhile, Edgar slowly leaves the arena when suddenly a voice full of surprise and anxiety catching up with him. In the falling impulse into the frame, a teacher with strapped hair and cracks on the head breaks into the frame. A loud, indignant voice is intertwined with a frank surprise on the distorted face of the face and intense gestures. Here is boiling true rage and complete misunderstanding of what is happening. The teacher, full of fierce, tears his voice, indignantly accused the student of attempting to commit suicide. Behind, on the verge of exhaustion, another character, through the soaked and barely held on his feet. Meanwhile, the true culprit of events watches all with cold indifference, rushing into the air, bold laugh. The situation is exacerbated. The teacher with fury requires a strict punishment for the incident when suddenly a state-owned woman with long hair intervenes and is interested in the fate of their accountant. The tension between the characters is increasing. In the air there is a premonition of the inevitable conflict. With a smile full of confidence, an elf with gorgeous long hair appears on stage, striking a man that he had to meet such a guest here. The character with cat ears and a notebook in her hands is closely observed. The situation that has just emitted tension suddenly changes to genuine surprise. The smile of pleasure illuminates the face of the long-haired when he represents his assistant, a clever secretary with cat ears and glasses immersed in the notebook. At the same time, the owner recommends him as his incredible secretary, and the assistant smiles and notes that he has just recorded something interesting. The boy's palm lay on his shoulder, sad. Although he met this gesture cold, something like a satisfied smile flashed in his corners, as if he were just a moment he was able to smooth out a dispute or find a way out of a difficult situation. A concentrated and gloomy man lifts a photo, convinced that he has a deception during the match. In the atmosphere, tension increases. There is an acute taste of the accusation. A smiling guy, restrained, but with a clear superiority, shows a compromising episode of the match. Snakes twist around him, and a frog is frozen. These creatures emphasize a hidden threat that is hidden behind a rest mask. The elf raises his glasses with self-confidence. A barely noticeable ridicule plays on his lips. One gesture is enough to instantly emphasize his or her own advantage over the opponent. The visible calm of the conversation is a long-standing rivalry, acquiring a new sharpness with every word. In the design of the distance, the Elfian tried to find something important in memory. The bright hair of a senior student attracted her attention. This face was already shimmering in her memoirs. The slender elfish with gorgeous golden hair presented to the students of the president of the student council, Rin Kun, who was deservedly considered the strongest in the whole academy. Just looked around, one of the newcomers immediately recognized him. It was this character that impressed everyone with his abilities at the solemn discovery. The surprise erupts the features of the protagonist when, without believing what he heard, he asks whether he is really the strongest student in the whole school. There is a genuine interest mixed with slight confusion in the eyes. Looking at the teacher, the protagonist with a brazen confidence asks, can their class win even high school students if they are managed by the president of the student council? Tina-sensei teacher, amazed at such courage, does not hide surprise. The girl's eyes sparkle from excitement, and a passionate smile blooms on her face. The cams are firmly compressed with joy. Every movement feels the power of determination and belief in their own success. She is overwhelmed by inspiration, like a continuous anticipation of future victories. Two students agree to accept the call, trying to show what they can. The faces are determined, and the third character watches with some surprise. On the stage, a combat mood and anticipation of a sharp competition are raging. Nervously squeezing a fist, Haruto emits the determination that boils in every vein. Inner fire pushes him forward. Despite all the dangers and the obvious advantage of the enemy, he is ready to challenge the president of the student council. Sand is settling on the desktop, and she sadly lifts her ears, plunging into the heart of melancholy. Despite the impressive talents, mental fatigue, and a monotonous routine of exhausting training are slowly eating enthusiasm. Morning in the classroom meets the melody exhausted. Hearing on the desk, she barely fights with sleep. A classmate runs to her with a smile that shines clearly than the sun. Her cheerful greetings dispels the nap, and a warm hello appears on the lips of the melody. In the girl's hands, a neat package and a warm smile blossoms on her face, which accurately gives her admiration for her future moment. With enthusiasm, she reports that she has prepared a small surprise for everyone in the classroom, and this news causes genuine surprise and interest in the interlocutor. A sophisticated box, decorated with bright ribbons, the girl extends with a charming smile, which enhances the flickering of the stars around. Filled with joy and pride, she gives chocolate to Valentine's Day, happy to share this sweet moment with friends. On the face of the hero with bald ears, the surprise is immediately reflected. The gaze involuntarily runs away. This answer is striking, breaking his hopes to the usual. The facial features mix confusion with the elusive anxiety, and it seems even more true. A vivid outbreak of awareness permeates the melody. The holiday is approaching when it is customary to give friends and loved ones. In the kingdom of Grendel where she studies, this tradition is extremely popular. Suddenly the girl is panic. Only now she remembered the event, so she completely forgot to prepare. Along with the heroes, called from the other world, the tradition of Valentine's Day has penetrated into the new lands. Having similar ingredients and culinary preferences, this holiday has quickly taken root and became a common part of the local life. The angry heroine with her ears rushes forward, quite openly demonstrating her dissatisfaction. The remaining behind, stunningly faded, frozen by her emotional explosion. The atmosphere is becoming more tense, and the dispute between the characters reached its climax. Under the arch of the old building, two students enthusiastically discuss the news about a common acquaintance. Suddenly, the conversation comes about the melody, and one of them is surprised and anxious to know that after the competition, the girl fell into depression. At the same moment, the guy watches the girl closely, who looks in front of himself with curiosity that has flashed the glitter in his eyes. There is a tense, almost noticeable silence between them. Everyone dives into their own reflections, unnoticed by weighing the next step. The girl focuses on the spirit of spirit, preparing to take a significant step. In her look, he is an unwavering determination and a shade of internal struggle, which clearly expresses the moment of decision. The next morning, the moon, having overcome the excitement, approaches Ruto with a gift, gently extending the goodies to his hands. The look is full of shyness, but the determination burns inside. The hero corresponds to a sincere smile, wrapping this moment with warmth and kindness. A light, wicked smile plays on Haruto's mouth when his gaze slides to the gift brought by the moon. In a prudent tone, he voices the true content of the surprise. The slow reaction only enhances the excitement of the moon, which looks forward to whether the guy understands the right thing. Perhaps this gift is a certificate on a special day. She is embarrassed, but shining with happiness. The moon confesses that she put a lot more in this gift than just gratitude. She asks Haruto to leave it between them, giving a minute special warmth and intimacy. Having happy with gratitude, the moon suddenly remembers. She never received a chocolate from Tina. This thought makes her embarrassed to lower her eyes and feel a slight surprise that borders with inconvenience. With excitement in the look of Tina panics, he extends my son chocolate, answering his greetings. Her tensions are thought that Valentine's Day has not yet been found. A little stunned, the black-haired girl froze with a box of chocolates in her hands. In her look, genuine confusion and surprise were read. The moment lasted in silent tension, an unexpected manifestation of attention deprived it of words. The confused views of the two schoolgirls slide on the boxes of chocolates, which were unexpectedly found in their hands. Next to the third girl watching this scene with a clear surprise, trying to understand why girlfriends received such unexpected gifts. Two twin sisters with impermeable faces stared forward without understanding the content of the conversation. Their interlocutor is surprised. The girls have not heard about Valentine's Day, so they take details to explain to them the essence of this holiday. The surprise is mixed on the young man's face as soon as he hears that the interlocutors know nothing about Valentine's Day. With a slight embarrassment, he tries to convey to them the essence of this special holiday. Watching the twins closely, the guide dives into thinking about their true essence. They seem strange to him, not quite human. Suddenly, an episode emerges in memory. He once held one of them in his arms, and the bright glow of the body emphasized the abyss between these creatures and ordinary people. One of the sisters rejects the boy's courtship, all his efforts to fascinate her broken into icy infallibility. Other sisters, confused and puzzled, stand aside, watching this silent battle. Meanwhile, their friend, watching the events, tries to understand with bitter surprise why he is left out of attention every time. The whole scene is imbued with a casual humor and a genuine misunderstanding between heroes. A bright morning is filled with a cheerful greeting of two smiling girls in school uniform. One of them holds a box in their hands. Students flock to the class. Sleepy twins are leisurely between the desks, and then after them, a removed young man who watches all because of their backs. The teacher with a warm smile turns to the students, asking to help in serving a sophisticated cake, generously decorated with fruits and air cream. The kid is happy to respond, with admiration to watching the skill of the mentor. The dessert impresses with her appetizing appearance and elegance. A sudden tune was ridden. A tune appeared in the door, radiating a radiant smile and holding a tray with hot chocolate. Her unexpected appearance at once filled the room with warmth and astonishment, and cheerfulness and sincere desire to help instantly melt the tension among those present. Happiness, a smile, illuminates the girls' faces when a tray with a fragrant hot chocolate gets to their hands. Everything around is filled with home warmth and sincere friendliness, and gentle care and support are even stronger to unite the heroines. In this frame, a moment of unexpected discovery unfolds. The bodice San comes across a gold coin and a piece of cake. On the faces of all, genuine surprise. The characters note that there was only one coin, and they welcome the bodice together. Tears of quiet joy swell in the eyes of a girl who firmly squeezes in the palms of a golden coin, a happy mascot donated to her by Tina-san. A unique feeling of warmth and comfort seems to wrap everyone around, and this charming moment does not go unnoticed. On a high cart loaded with soft toys and colorful boxes, stands a guy and generously gifts. Classmates happily catch bright rolls, and at the table, other children are delighted to look at the surprises received. Somewhere in the middle of the street, the hero suddenly fades, as if an unexpected awareness penetrates his mind. The anxiety comes on the face. There is doubt in the look. Is there something important? The imagination feverishly turns over the memories, trying to find what could slip out of memory. Bitter awareness covers Goto. He was left over the celebration. No chocolate tiles. No gift from Tina. Loneliness compresses the heart, and the eyes slowly fade in a sad look, full of frustration. A light memory flashes in the imagination of the hero. Once in the morning he was waiting for pleasant surprises. In the foreground, the joyful Tina stretches a little boy a box decorated with a festive ribbon. This warm vision emphasizes his current loneliness even more. On the way home, the hero's steps are feeding the anticipation. Tina probably prepared everything for him. In memory, the warmest moments of their intimacy emerge, which involuntarily causes easy excitement. The arguments of the mind are trying to take the mountain, but hope is glittering on the face, and the eyes are glowing. The evening is slowly wrapping the room, and the guard dressed in pajamas is soaked on the bed. The day has passed without leaving a bright event. The disappointment of a heavy burden lies on the shoulders, and it seems that nothing heralds changes. But the unexpected knock on the window unexpectedly cuts silence, forcing him to shudder. Deep night, Tina carefully opens the door and goes to the hero's room. The confusion is mixed with the determination on her face when the girl confesses the reason for her visit. Haruto does not hide the surprise, because he did not expect to hear something so important from her. Twing to her ears, Tina stands in front of him in a frank dress, and her body is decorated with chocolate. It reveals an ancient ritual, which in the world of heroes is considered a special sign of honor. Such a step is striking. It is easy to understand that it is far from ordinary act. She was embarrassed. The girl stands in front of him, shyly lowering her eyes. He admits that this is their first day Valentine, since they became a couple. And there is a tense, anxious uncertainty around. The heroine is in front of the boy. He dared to show him her special, hidden technique, a heart-shaped chocolate applied directly to the exposed body. Her look is full of excitement and uncertainty. In a plowed breath, she is waiting for his answer. On the face of Garuto, a joyful smile blooms when she sincerely supports the act of Tina. The appearance is full of admiration and easy awkwardness, and in thought is gratitude to the heroes of the past for such bizarre but surprisingly pleasant customs. The lightweight sigh of the girl's mouth. A barely noticeable fire of delight plays in her eyes. The timid smile illuminates the face, the shoulders are softened, and a carefully selected outfit with chocolate jewelry skillfully emphasizes what efforts this romantic surprise was created. Hardly holding back the excitement, Tina gathered all her courage and took the final step towards Haruto, inviting to enjoy the prepared surprise. In his view, tenderness sparkles, and every movement speaks of the sincerity of intentions and the restless desire to make a loved one. Gathering with determination, Tina is stuck on the knees of Haruto, all aimed at achieving her goal. The young man's cheeks are burning with excitement, but notes of seriousness sounds in her voice. Haruto asks if she is sure of her decision. Finally, when he dared, the protagonist goes to decisive action. A young maid with a glowing smile, holding a tray, is filled with chocolate flavors into the room. Each step emits energy and confidence. The look is glowing with joy, and a smile gives a great pride for her culinary masterpiece. She seeks to share it. The girl's face blooms a happy smile, and a fun chocolate spot only emphasizes the ease of moment. In her gaze, a sincere delight in her own dish and a sincere desire to cause admiration to the audience clearly shines. Dressed in a suit of maid, Tina repels the guy when a girl-lick appears in the room suddenly. The unexpected appearance is stunning both, forcing you to die of surprise. Fate leads him to an uncomfortable position before the maid of Tina. In the room of the student dormitory of the IUFS Magic Academy, the quiet atmosphere is disturbed when the girl, concentrated in the board, is preparing to make the next move. But unexpectedly, her attention is attracted by a strange detail. There are no black figures on the game field. Such unclear violation of the usual order causes embarrassment, the state of anticipation of something special, which is about to happen. Stunned by the unexpected development of events, a girl with ears embarrassedly examines a chip that is clamped in her palm. Watching the game closely, she notices all the chips immediately became white. Although the gambling still continues around, she saw a completely unprecedented phenomenon. The unexpected final of the reverse game makes one of the girls timidly admit, "The skill in this game is its special feature." In response, another, barely restraining surprise, understands that even in this case, you can be defeated, although such moments are extremely rare. Sitting on the bed, the moon shone with a sincere admiration. The defeat in the reverse did not stop it at all. The thirst for the game was only stronger. Opposite her, the hero smiled timidly, feeling a slight shame, but still set up a new challenge. On the board, one by one, white chips were decomposed, undoubtedly hinting at the next losing. In the soul and the melody was gloomy, but one of the students suggested that she stay in the hostel for the night, to cheer up. However, despite all the requests not to be subjected, the game in reverse turned to the melody a number of defeats, which only exacerbated its embarrassment. The next morning, after an unsuccessful night meeting, Garuto makes an effort to reassure the girl and dispel the tension that has rushed between them. His sincere smile and encouraging words are warm, but inside it feels only inconvenience, and the lost moon silently turns away, depressed by defeat and lies, staring at the wall. Confidence and sophistication. This girl is captivated by such features. Not only a strategy game is skillfully managed, a honed mind and a great knowledge of magic distinguish her among others. All her posture speaks of deep inner strength and multifaceted talent. In the lessons, the moon strikes everyone with their brilliant abilities. Without shadows, he goes to the board and quickly solves even the most difficult tasks. Her sharp mind and confidence capture classmates. Confusion and embarrassment are drawn on the faces of the Edges and Melody because training is not easy for them. However, when it comes to battle, these two turn into unsurpassed fighters, leaving any doubt behind. Haruto's vigilant look relentlessly monitors what is happening in the classroom. Every student opens quite differently than he expected. With every minute, it becomes more and more clear. There were truly exceptional personalities whose strength and strangeness impress the imagination. In the student council hall, filled with morning light, he looks at all the plush rabbit, as if she carefully watched what is happening. Meanwhile, someone's thoughts are pouring into this year's freshmen, strange and unusual, as if the whole course had collected solid weirdos. Against the backdrop of the academy, the stories of prominent freshmen are unfolding. A talented battle magician radiates confidence. An elf that has overcome the strongest rivals impresses with its agility. The mysterious magician does not leave the library for hours, and the young grandson of the director has extremely powerful magic. In the hall of the student council, there is a lively discussion of a rather strange event. Among the freshmen appeared at once two dragons, representatives of an extremely rare race. One of them has an exceptional healing capacity, and the rest of the newcomers are still known only by fragmentary rumors. The elf from the student council with interest is viewed by a new freshman. Particular attention is paid to the fact that the class is headed by the legendary Tina Hibble, a person enveloped by myths and puzzles. In the atmosphere of the student council, the guide decisively issues the assignment. The horse receives the order to send toys and sweets to the orphanages on behalf of the academy, and must continue to collect information about freshmen. With a smile on her mouth, Yuko proudly shares the joyous news. From now on, she is a devoted servant of the protagonist. The girl in kimono firmly squeezes his palm, leaving the boy in full surprise and confusion. Looking back at Yuko, the main character is surprised to find that she really mastered magic and received the status of a servant. A girl with a proud glitter in her eyes demonstrates newly acquired abilities, and one of the present does not hide the admiration, learning about her maximum level, as much as 99. A mysterious smile appears on Yuko's lips when she reveals her true strength, a unique ability to conquer the mind of others. She explains her skill in suggestion. Anyone whose level is lower falls under her full control. This not only demonstrates the danger of Yuko, but also emphasizes its exceptional power. In the circle of heroes, there is a conversation about their level's forces, and immediately becomes obvious. Two of them left others far behind. One has already reached the incredible 120 level. Another approached 105. Against this background, the protagonist who barely started his journey with the first level, immersed in a state of confusion and surprise, realizing the grand abyss in the strength of each other and others. The hero has a conversation with the Elfian, a girl who gained glory thanks to the victories over the 5 best students of the academy. At this point, he does not think of his opinion. It was not necessary to enter into an agreement with Yuko before, not to be a victim of her strength. A lively conversation about the level of preparation broke out among the noisy company of students. The girl with passion shows a screen on which the number 62 shines, causing the captured views of classmates. 2 other girls are not far behind. They proudly report their 60 points, sincerely proud of this achievement. The upset of the girl is obvious. Her level is only 52, and against the background of mighty comrades, this figure seems scanty. Behind, like a mockery of fate, a guy with a glowing smile sways his first level, clearly emphasizing the difference between the participants. First, doubts about their own forces take the mountain, but comrades express their sincere support, emphasizing its importance and unique abilities. Hearing warm words, he blossoms with joy and sincerely thanks to his friends. The face of a short-haired girl glows with joy. Happiness overflows her, because he finally has a chance to study without caution before dangerous magic around. Another heroine stands next. Sincerely smiling, she encourages her friend and advises not to be shy about thank you. The smile blooms on the boy's face. Joy overflows him from awareness of his own benefit. In memory, he pops up when Yuko chose his master. Let the shadow of surprise and flash in thoughts confidence in the correctness of what is happening, gives a sense of complete harmony. A tense look goes forward. Anxiety thickens in the air. It is time to open its level in front of everyone. The palm involuntarily shakes the shirt near the chest, and inside the awareness is fled. The fateful moment is very close. Now everything will be resolved. In front of the Aruto screen stands focused, preparing to expose his own secret as others did to him. The echo of determination in his view shows that it is no longer possible to hide the truth about his curse. With his head lowered, the young man finally confesses to his friends in his guilt. The internal reproaches of conscience do not rest. The mystery of the curse, which he hid for so long, depresses him. Today, it is important for him to sincerely apologize for everyone. The hero was going to announce his level, as one of the students suddenly stopped him, saying that he prefers not to know the truth. Another restrained friend also agreed with this approach, hinting that the hero is not obliged to reveal his indicators. In the memory of one of the students, the former belief in his own invincibility. It seemed that only his grandfather could compete with his power. But it was necessary to cross the threshold of the academy, as the illusions dispelled. Seeing the power of Tina, a student whose power even exceeded the possibilities of the legendary hero Didas, the guy finally realized his mistake. Among the students, one of them admits with anxiety. If he learns the level of the hero, he will never restore his own self-esteem. But when the hero finally opens his status, only the first level, it causes total shock and confusion, finally destroying all expectations of the attendees. All the students were breathed in the breath when the hero opened his level. A wave of anxiety was killed, touching everyone for living. One of the girls quietly admitted that she would not be dared to look at his performance, because deeply in the soul is afraid. Suddenly they exceed even the achievements of Tina herself. Having voiced his level, the hero faces a wave of dissatisfaction with classmates. Girls confess. His strength is able to kill any desire to learn and develop further, so they are asked to no longer touch this painful question. With a light sigh, Aruto refuses to reveal his level. The need for this has already disappeared. The interlocutor makes an immobile decision, demonstrating a silent consent and a sincere smile. The rays of the morning sun penetrate the crown of trees at the Afer Academy's training grounds, which are called Steel Forest. Today, another lesson for students begins here. New trials and discoveries are waiting for them. Freshmen first set on the territory of the Steel Forest, the places where the training of high school students usually take place. Looking around with alarming interest, they feel tension. It is here that many dangerous monsters are hidden. The fire of the competition burns in his gaze. The bold voice cuts the silence. Let's check which of us will crush the most monster. The anticipation of battle in the danger zone sparkles in his eyes. Girls lively discuss the idea of the tournament. One of them sincerely admits that she can only help from the rear. But this does not in any way confuse the passion of others. They suggest to break into couples with excitement and take up the preparation immediately. In the air, a competitive drive and a casual revival are raging. The characters are briskly choosing to choose their parties for a new business. One of the boys enthusiastically invites to join with a shy girl, and he modestly agrees to this idea. Meanwhile, another couple has already decided without unnecessary hesitation. A friendly, energy-charged mood prevails between all. Students begin to choose their teamwork before training. Some, like a cat girl, joyfully agrees to work with their partner without hiding the delight. Others, for a long time, are accustomed to each other. Without unnecessary words remain in the usual duet. Even before the workout, the detachment of the heroes gathered together, and Yuko, happily hugging the guy, caused a barely noticeable excitement with one of the attendees. Friendly exclamations were being supported around, but someone's decisive hand has already extended forward. In the dense huts of the Steel Forest, the trial had to begin. Before the workout, students gather together, causing every word of the mentor. With a slight smile, she gives out special bracelets, and in case of danger holds the tilted whistle. Everyone receives an important warning. In the future test, you should remain careful and careful. A special ritual is waiting for the heroes to travel to the forest. They are presented with unique bracelets. These devices not only capture the number of defeated monsters and their rank, but also light a spark of rivalry, turning training into a real competition. Suddenly, one of the teachers is alert, hearing how students discuss future competitions. The girl with a lively smile immediately reminds of the dispute. Who will be able to destroy more monsters? The hero jokes sincerely, and the girl with a radiant smile immediately confesses. The competition was invented. Not hiding surprise, the guy is surprised by her unexpected initiative. Against the background of the inspired speech of the mentor, the forest training base seems to come to life. The heroes explain that the destruction of the monster in this place will not bring any increase in level. Instead, the main goal is to develop team unity and support each other. A smile illuminates her face when he solemnly states, "Time to complete a task or start workout is limited." The competing on the destruction of monsters. The participants are torn forward, seeking to surpass each other and get the best result. The girl in kimono squeezes his fist with unbiased determination, ready to rush into the future fight. It is surrounded by radiance and flowering flowers that emphasize the combat mood and full of optimism. Somewhere behind the voice of a friend who reports the course of events. In the shade of the forest, there is a lively conversation. The characters carefully consider the strategy on how to cope with the monsters. The ability to curb enemies through the art of conscious control is of great interest, although the team is in doubt about the success of such a plan. Despite some warnings, like-minded people support this idea and vigorously look for the best way for the next step. A self-confident smile blooms on the lips of the young man as he lifts his hand, holding a rotating ball of energy in his palm. The willingness to act as the first shines in his gaze. About a new stage of a fierce duel will begin. Under the accompaniment of energy outbreaks, the young man skillfully causes magical lights that are intertwined into a fascinating sight. Two comrades watch this action closely. One does not hide admiration, and the other, with surprised curiosity, comprehends the incredible force hidden in his skills. Surprising his satellites, Judo confidently demonstrates magic. Fire in his hands takes shape and special properties, just in the eyes of a flame that turns into a horse silhouette. Such a focus causes a girl's genuine surprise and even confusion. The glowing armor, created with the use of lightning magic, dazzlingly flashes on the characters. In passionately telling how he sought to create a spear with a powerful punching force, he adds that he strengthened it with another layer of protection. When the spell reached the climax, the fire obeyed the will of the young magician and acquired the outline of a terrible, armed centaur spear in shiny armor. The unrestrained flow of flames and lightning envelops the creature, forcing all those present with delight and fear of watching the magical sight. Having squeezed the cams with excitement, the girl in kimono exclaims, without hiding the surprise before what he saw, and the guy nearby frozen in real grip, watching her. The awareness comes instantly. Before them, not just sorcery, but the true magic of the highest grade, the legendary fiery knight. Fascinated by joy, the protagonist raises his hands, calling for an attack. The fiery knight, along with fantastic creatures, rushes forward, a moment saturated with determination and fighting. The hero's army boldly enters the monsters, and the spirit of struggle fills the battlefield. A cheerful dispute flashes between them. The girl thoughtfully suggests to call new fire warriors simply by the speakers. They say that everything is said about weapons. The hero only looks confused, trying to understand why the name sounds so simple and strange at the same time. The worried Yuko Starhead rushes to his friend, looking eagerly in his face. It embarrasses its overuse of magic, and it is even more worried about whether it has harm. The flirtatious light in her eyes playfully flashed when the girl winked with the main character and offered to touch the crumbs of her magic. In her gesture felt tenderness and a shade of romance. The unexpected initiative lost the boy, but a shy smile still illuminated his face. It seems that the words for the answer are missing. The panic expression instantly appears on the face of Yuko, which is finally stopped, hearing the teacher's call. Meanwhile, surprised classmates return to the sound of voice and immediately recognize a strict teacher. With a strict facial expression, the teacher reports that thanks to special bracelets, no movement of students will go unnoticed. Her gaze becomes even colder when she adds, "For the slightest attempt to flirt in the lesson, participants are waiting for an instant exception from the game and an unsatisfactory assessment." The indignation bursts one of the students. The excessive interest in Tina in her life has long crossed all the limits. Even at home, it is not possible to escape from annoying efforts to interfere with the most personal. In the midst of the lesson, the teacher strictly announces the rules. It is only necessary to remove the bracelet. This means to voluntarily leave the lesson. dinner does not shine. Hearing lightning strikes one of the schoolgirls. Fright and surprise are reflected in her eyes. Tears of despair involuntarily slipped on the cheeks of the main character. The punishment seemed too harsh. Nearby, full of compassion, Haruto sighs quietly, thinking not only of her pain, but also that he will now stay without a delicious dinner prepared by their girlfriend. Against the backdrop of dense bushes, the character thoughtfully analyzes what he heard in the lesson, carefully drawing the conclusions. Along with him is a simple scheme, with figures that figuratively reproduce the story, told by Tina. On the hill, sitting on its very land, two students have a lively conversation. One of them, smiling, thoughtfully listens to the words of the interlocutor as she inspires her thoughts about the goodness of Gerudo to others. Suddenly, the girl realizes that her feelings for the boy have become noticeable to the environment. The cheeks are burning while she hurries her face with her hands, covered with embarrassment. Meanwhile, girlfriends with a smile are vividly discussing this new intrigue. The smile blooms on the girl's face, and she sincerely thanks her chosen partner for working together. Although the dream duo of Gerudo never developed, she manages to maintain cheerfulness, hiding from others' true feelings. With a slight smile, the girl remembers how the protagonist told her about support from her current satellite during the admission ceremony. She reads gratitude and barely noticeable excitement. A little embarrassed, the young heroine confesses. She made this chocolate to express her gratitude. Her interlocutor, surprised by such sincerity, is gradually aware of the deeper feelings that the girl hid. In the steel forest, the heroes suddenly came across a wolf, which shouted completely nearby. The girl's vicious look gave anxiety, while the guy remained calm. The expression of his face testified to confidence. The experience suggested the new moon. Such locals rarely pose a real danger. The views of the heroes are concentrated on the wolf, which at first glance seemed like a living creature, but in fact was only a dummy for training. The girl closely monitors his every movement, and suddenly from the inner, the beast comes a sinister sound, and the tension increases instantly. Noticing something bad, the girl instantly activates the skill of acceleration, strenuously staring forward. The anticipation of the danger compresses the breast. The wolf is not at all like the usual training rivals. The children's voice exclaims at full despair. The guy responds instantly. All attention is focused on awakening his own strength. The girl, without hiding gratitude, admires enthusiastically, knowing that in a decisive moment he rushed to defense. Focused on the edge, the hero is watching every rapid movement of wolves that rushes to him at a dangerous speed. Attention is sharpened to the limit. No detail slips out of his eye. The heart will fight calmly, even in the hall of the threat, the situation under full control. He barely manages to put a magical shield. The partner reflects a frantic attack of the wolf. Despite the status of a regular training target, the supernatural speed and power of this beast are serious suspicions. The rushing call to the moon for help, and magical energy is raging on the palm of the boy. When it releases a blow, a dazzling light flashes around. The powerful explosion pierces the surrounding area, lifting thick smoke clubs and scaring the birds that break into the sky. After a strenuous duel, the wandering magician, along with the ally, monitor how the whirlpool is absorbed by silence, melting in the air after their devastating attack. The vigilant and focused look of the boy testifies to a deep concentration, while the girl's face appears a lightweight smile. The awareness that the battle has finally ended brings peace into her heart. Among the dense forest, there are suddenly mysterious eyes that express the emergence of new enemies. An alarming feeling instantly covers the hero. The danger has not yet receded. From the dark depths of the forest emerge mighty Mahanan's creatures much more stronger than anyone could predict. The hero, along with his partner, carefully evaluate the situation. The fight seems inevitable and will obviously be fierce. The hope of bypassing the battle is rapidly faded. The decisive step of fate brings together the team. One of the girls rushes forward, calling for girlfriends to join the attack. With a barely restrained passion, they burst into battle, without moving. With the first strikes of the fight, the girls act harmoniously. One with a smile thanks the other for the fact that the enemies are where it is necessary. Confidence in their eyes and rapid interaction is issued. Everything follows the conceived scenario. In the depths of the forest, two heroines find themselves surrounded by bizarre creatures. Here are both the frogs and the ugly horned beasts. One squeezes his fists, staring in the dark, preparing for a possible fight. At the same moment, a flock of bats appeared above the tops of the trees, which, like an alarming shadow, hangs the heralds of inevitable danger. In a whirlwind of battle, the hero easily straightens with giant scorpions, cutting their strong shell with crushing strokes. On the face is an unquenchable confidence and a thirst for victory, and the fragments of fallen enemies fly away. Triumphantly greeting the victory, the hero swarms the enemy with a rocky performance, marking his own victory. Nearby, the partner watches the spectacle with an indiscriminate peace, in no way expressing emotions. Battalion behind, it's time to rest. One of the heroines, full of energy, joyfully proposes to prepare a dish of defeated monsters. Her companion, while maintaining rest and restraint, almost sluggishly responds to enthusiasm, only slightly tiredly embroidered, without showing special admiration for this idea. Among the overthrown monster, the girl looks carefully into the outside world, as if weighing every movement. Fatigue is reflected in the look. Endless enemy attacks do not leave a moment at a break. Humped by pride, Reshisin shines with joy after victory. Next to the girl seems exhausted and thoughtful. However, her endurance is unwavering. Fatigue in the eyes does not interfere with keeping peace, because he knows well. The admiration of the guy is about to change another teaching. Suddenly catching something new in the air, the girl looks around with surprise. The light wind and sudden silence give rise to intense anticipation in it, as if the invisible threat is about to approach. Throwing the surrounding space, may stop. This is not overlooked by a girlfriend. Invisible pressure thickens in the air, and an alarming premonition comes between girls. Something unusual constantly sneaks, destroying their peace. The girl feels a powerful stream of magical energy around her. Having a vigilant look, it immediately captures the strange sparks that shimmer in the air, and expresses suspicion. Perhaps it is an ifrit. The anxiety is increasing, because the heroines are trying to unravel the nature of the mysterious aura. Suddenly, the space around is filled with a powerful magical aura that leaves me and her girlfriend in a state of stunning. The long-haired girl is amazed, thinking whether they are in front of Ifrit, but the partner immediately clarifies. The source of this force is not just Ifrit. His energy is much more powerful. On the narrow forest path, a fierce dispute between two girls flaunts. One with anxiety looks around, the other is vigorously waving, without believing any word. From the thicket, the mysterious creature is carefully observed behind their altercation, skillfully hiding in the shade of the bushes. Watching the screen in the team center, Tina notices strange movements of the monsters. It gradually comes to her that these creatures are managed by the mysterious force from the outside. Anxiety pervades her thoughts, and an irresistible desire to understand the cause of this makes it strong. A flock of wolves emerges from the thick hide, immediately attracting the girl's eyes. The guard views observe the creatures whose behavior seems anxiously unusual. One of the wolves brings out a long howl, as if giving the other a mysterious sign. The wolf rapidly lifts the muzzle to the sky and rushes a warning howl as if it are approaching an unknown danger. Meanwhile, a mysterious girl who has frozen on a sorcerer's circle suddenly catches a barely noticeable waves of powerful magic that runs from afar. In the middle of the magical vortex is a mysterious girl. Her hand is raised as if she was trying to catch invisible energy flows. The air is anxious, the tension is thickened. A warrior, a servant of a dark deity approach, and with each instant an internal anticipation of danger is only increasing. Against the background of the stormy sky, a young priestess with a lowered look captures the excitement of strength in the air. Her words about the treacherous god, who should not become more powerful, sound anxious. In the voice of the shadow of doubt, there are still many powerful energies around her heart. The solemn hall, illuminated by the luxury, hides in the shading of the high carved apartment of the mysterious alien. In reflections on the price of his power, he carefully weighs every chance. The hero sharply feels that every reincarnation takes away the last crumbs of strength, and understands. As soon as it becomes unnecessary, he is in a hurry to replace. On the throne, immersed in reflections on its own survival, a demon with a piercing like a blade, looks and sharp horns sits. Its goal is to last as long as possible in this world. In front of the owner stands the priestess. Calm, focused, She obediently executes the order to get a book called Formula of God from the lowest shelf. On a dark background, white daffodils blossom brightly, reflecting the true emotions of the heroine. In Secret Thoughts, there is no place to be insurance. There is only a sincere desire to become important for whom everyone is used to considered terrible. Not a monster she sees in front of her, but the one who wants to be needed so much. The silence of the library envelops the space, while the young girl carefully views the shelves in search of a dream book. In the head without stopping, there are strict demands. Not to change, to remain weak, but under no circumstances to die. Restricted by the rules, it cannot show true strength, but in each of its Russia there is an indomitable determination. Closing her eyes and making her palms in prayer, the girl plunges into the world of shimmering spiritual entities. The realization that it will take the necessary time to find the right time did not shake her determination. The radiant magical energy is raging around, enveloping it with invisible protection. Turning into the amazing library, the girl is spreading among the ancient volumes that are launched in the air, enthusiastically immersed in the wise remnants of the knowledge of the evil god. Impressions overwhelm the imagination, forcing them to admire the incomprehensible power and potential of the creator of this heritage. His power is able to give rise to truly incredible things. The icy, piercing look of the evil god focuses on the maid, who failed to take the wrong book. The voice sounds restrained calmly, but the words clearly hear irritation when it begins to explain in detail the difference between the formula and the wording. The gloomy light is pouring between the rows of the library, and the sinister god thinks about the recalled. Among the numerous volumes about the curse, the required book, perhaps not hidden on the bottom shelf. Meanwhile, the girl is frantically swaying between books, mastered, because this collection of dark knowledge can be crucial. There is an offer to use other charms instead of an additional curse. The dark god nods in response, with a living interest in waiting for the further development of events. As it turned out, the initial curse imposed by God was insufficiently thoughtful and little gaps. The hero was able to get around him without stopping his development. Now he was open to even powerful magic, a spell of a fiery knight. Once a gloomy god imposed a cruel curse, but over the years, his power came to naught with the punishment itself. And so before the hero shone a spark of hope, will he finally tear off the ill-fated brand, or even overthrow the dark god? After the ritual, the evil god loses strength and plunges into a deep dream, seeking to restore power. The girl sends a magical trace on the hero, but he should be easy. No sorcery trick helps to find a loved one. The anxiety fulfills her heart. He hasn't died already? The girl suddenly realizes that the new generation of heroes is not yet chosen, so the past character is still among the living. Thinking about how to find a hero, the sorceress turns to a magical ball. However, the invisible barrier prevents her efforts, forcing her eyes to be filled. Many years have passed in silence and vain attempts, and suddenly the bullet darkened dimly. Something finally shifted from the place. Warm evening. Students carelessly rest near the campfire, when a sudden waiter communicates with Tina sensory. The agitated voice of the mentor announces the alarming news. In the forest, a danger has been awakened, and the inhabitants of the huts became aggressive. She insists everyone will immediately return to the starting position. The darkness wrapped everything around when the girls, struggling with their own anxiety, were carefully moving further into the forest depths, barely restraining the temptation to resort to mighty witchcraft. In the middle of the forest lawn, a mysterious figure suddenly materialized, around which waves of anxiety and strength were erupted. The views of the strangers crossed. It was at this moment that their destinies had to sprout. A stranger emerged from the fog, wrapping the space around her bizarre aura. The girl in school form was alert, feeling the forest filled with anxiety energy. Everything hinted at the environment. It was this creature that became the source of misery. An unknown girl frozen like a statue, radiating a threatening and someone else's aura. Its appearance was so struck from reality that the warrior was clearly felt. In the air, anxiety energy rages. In it, the dark power of the ancient god and the echo of heroic blood were woven. Hard anticipation pushes the heroine forward. A decisive jerk is rapidly rushing towards a mysterious stranger. Views face in a moment of intense confrontation. The voltage reaches its climax. It is like a righteous anger. The heroine causes a devastating blow, A powerful explosion erupts the air, accelerates clouds, and leaves a bright mark of magical energy. The blow does not have a devastation that everyone hoped. Satellites with anxiety follow the flash in heaven, but the voltage is rapidly changing. From a cloud of dust, the enemy comes out almost unharmed, a barely noticeable smile in the look of peace. Even after the defeat of the heroine, he does not think to retreat. Contrary to the doubt of the opponent, she proclaims the spell, embodying all her determination. Like a lightning thunderstorm, a hammer of the Torah is a decisive blow over the enemy's head, which should put an end to this confrontation. The lightning flash closes around the enemy of the energy chains, forcing the body to roll from the inside. The attacker comprehends. There is too little his own power. Therefore, the power of the evil deity is probably still dormant in depth. The confidence of this, however, is shaky and foggy. Meanwhile, from below, the scales, the opponent is looking for an excuse for her position. The girl, which everyone was considered weak, reveals the true power. She is the Lord of Plants. I am convinced that the rival never overcomes it, confidently keeps the situation under control. However, everything changes at the moment when he is probably the owner of even greater power, wakes up. Considering what is depicted on this page, a weak girl retains absolute peace, even when the other attacks her from behind, putting all his strength in her blow. Moreover, the magical ritual continues without any obstacles, and no threat seems to distract it from the chosen purpose. The quiet girl turned out to be a real strong spirit. At first, skillfully gave a weak, then easily repelled the attack, and now she is catching up with the rival. The silent girl unexpectedly reveals true power and declares, her patron is a dark god. The indignation is burning in her words. From now on, everything will become much more difficult than everyone imagined. From it, it blows with danger and unwavering confidence. This moment is transparently hinted. The changes will come immediately, and they are unlikely to delight her opponent. Against the backdrop of a crazy battle, a little priestess with a mocking smile at an easily disarmed opponent, firmly pressing her to himself. Leaning closer, barely audible, as if jokingly, whispers, "Just like it, whose power is hidden under a mask of rest, are actually the most dangerous." With a barely palpable, icy smile, the priestess calls a demon, and the enemy solidifies in a terrible horror. Hunting just started. The sudden outbreak of magic hammers the heroine with the cold of real estate. Right in front of her appears a terrible monster that radiates a deadly danger. To realize what is happening, time is no longer left. A spooky monster emerges on the battlefield. The mask hides the face, and sharp claws are full of death. Panic, covered student calls her mentor, realizing how dangerous this enemy is. The thunder of the battle rises behind his back. The hero rotates sharply. Panic hardens when the silhouette falls rapidly from the sky. In the heart of cold anxiety, a call to the shadow of the Surrey, and panic breaks out, as the feeling of inevitable misery becomes unbearable. Bursting into the battlefield with a rapid whirlwind, a mysterious warrior instantly finds himself between the terrifying monster and his victim. One powerful blow, and the monster stopped on the spot. In the eyes of a desperate stranger, confidence is red. A real confrontation is just beginning, is just delivered. The monster and the idea had no such power. Lightning, and a powerful enemy effortlessly loses balance. The rapid jump is replaced by a devastating blow, and then confident delight. Everything happens too quickly. After all, before the beast is not an ordinary man, but a real warrior. Breaking into a frantic offensive, the hero rushes to battle, has time to snatch Tina Sensoi from the paws of danger, and with all power impresses the monster. The girl fades the heart with surprise. The events unfold more and more. At the instruction to catch a girl, the melody acted without delay. The students impressed with the coordination. While one was speaking, the other, without hesitation, broke into the jump. The tension increased with every moment, but suddenly the hope of salvation glittered in front of them. The skillful jerk melody makes his breath close. The jump strikes the imagination, and it is in the air that she picks up the shadow of the sensation. The voltage reaches the peak. The dynamic lines increase the dramatic situation. Everything happened literally on the verge when it seemed, even a moment, and it would be too late. The voltage reaches apogee. The girl loses consciousness. Her strength fades every moment. In a panic, the melody calls the moon, begging for Strain the healing spell. The atmosphere is pervaded by anxiety, but the team combines efforts to release the mentor from the tendency of a deadly threat. The atmosphere is exacerbated to the limit. Tina is faint simply in the hands of her students, and the melody, covered with panic, hurriedly warns the river of the threat. The enemy managed to use poison. Only one carelessness, and the consequences can become fatal. The insidious enemy launched the poison, and the girl immediately fainted. The heroes have to act lightly. It is necessary to save her life and defeat the villain. With the help of supporting, breathing, and unusual protective techniques, the moon gives Rushin an incredible force, speed, and multi-level protection. Everything is ready for the decisive battle. The counterattack begins. When assessing the situation, Reunion understands that the enemy is extremely strong and dangerous, so it is not necessary to risk the fight. The sharp decision matures instantly. It is time to strengthen its own attacks in order to inflict the enemy of even more devastating blows. Deep anxiety covers the heroine. The thought that it is only a burden for others do not rest. However, there are friends who gently calm her down and return confidence. Among the team is a wounded hero. Comrades insist that he is going to rest, taking care of his speedy recovery. The whole scene is permeated with warmth, care, and mutual support between the detachment. A lively discussion broke out around the recent defeat of Rushin. One of the heroes notes that it is not the weakness of Rushin, just his opponent Zagar was much more powerful. The girl at this point remembers the words of Garado spoke when Rushin fell. The stranger does not hide the surprise. Who would think that the Dracoid of Ryosushin was so concerned about the fate of people? However, in her view, he appears to his actions. Despite the numerical advantage of the enemy, the guy does not hesitate to accept the call. Demonstrating the steadfast determination to pass the test, he ignites the power and activates the technique of a dragon clatter. The power of the enemy is stunning everyone around, forcing you to doubt the undeniable advantage of the dragon. Even a powerful attack failed to break the opponent's resistance. It becomes obvious that it is a great danger. The voltage increases. The situation is gaining momentum. Starting dragon magic through the support of the moon, the hero quickly restores strength. When a decisive moment comes, it does not delay and rushes to act immediately. The intense fight reaches the peak. The characters struggle for victory. Suddenly, one of them noticed the danger that sneaks from the back and tries to shout at the reservation, which is now losing vigilance. Suddenly rattles a powerful explosion. A dazzling flash dazzles everyone around. Among the chaos and roar, one of the heroes has time to pick up the girl and take her from the epicenter of danger, holding her hands firmly. The rest of the attendees are in tension, observing the rapid development of events with anxiety and surprise. A new enemy suddenly comes to the arena. A terrible demon with massive chains on the claws and a sinister mask on the face. His appearance makes the heroine strain. Barely seeing, she immediately recognizes the true essence of the creature. Without any doubt, is a demon. The hero raises his hand, calling for magical power, and instantly forms a lightning circle that directs directly to the demon. The energy of the thunderstorm envelops the enemy, attracting it to the place, like invisible shackles. Supernatural lightning chains firmly hammer the demon, leaving him no chance to escape. The demon breaks out, while the hero desperately urges Rushin to return. The tension increases with every moment. The chains with a crack fly, and the creature is erupted. River, gathering all his determination, preparing to fight, measuring turning into a dragon. Having realized the threat, the heroes were instantly straying. The anxiety has frozen in their eyes. The call to retreat that he sounded as an order to escape. Meanwhile, in the confused views, a guess was given. They seem to be the same demon in red clothes that they have already met before. Cozy aside, two girls are quietly watching the development of events. One of the girlfriends is a light, casual tone. Just see how everything will unfold without interfering. The atmosphere is electrified by acute stress. One mistake Haruto is enough for a disaster. Observers who still maintained restraint are now more and more anxiety. In the arena, a fierce clash flares. Gerudo faces the demon, and the rest watches hard for each of his motion. Girls, not hiding doubts, hesitate. Do you agree to a contract with Haruto? Now everything decides this duel. One of the girls, politely addressing Haruto as himself, testifies to his respectful attitude towards him. The other notices this act and subtly hints that even now such a polite appeal is stored. In this scene, the girl admires him, honoring as Haruto-sama, and thinks whether he will agree to conclude a contract with her. Her sincere admiration only emphasizes how much his strength and skill made on her. One of them notes that Mei is too harsh with him. The other emphasizes that Coco voluntarily entered into an agreement with him. And the third recognizes that despite her young age, the companion of the nine-tailed fox is of great value. Geruto's capture encourages her to strive to enter into an agreement with him, in order to achieve even more power. The sharp reproach of Mei cuts silence. According to the girl, the only desire to conclude a contract with a person is explained by the excessive naivety and lack of such experience in the past. In these words, your own negligence comes to your own, so she is in a hurry. Mei emphasizes that no pressure on the contract with Hradamami is made on Mei. She only asks the girl to weigh all the circumstances and choose a truly right moment for an important decision. The back to the back, as if separated by the fate, in memory, the moments are torn when I kept so tightly for her. Now it remains only to want the sister to find her magician of water and to courage to step on her own way. Sad notes run in the soul. The memories of the caring may not be released by Mei. However, the older sister's heart is sincerely striving for Mei to learn wings, even if it means to say goodbye and release it into an independent flight. Among the loyal wolves of Mei, they throw a confident look in the distance. Any threat to the allies and they will instantly rush to the rescue without hesitation for a moment. Confidence sounds in every word Mei, and in her eyes a determination. The inspiration that penetrated into the heart of Mei after the words of the sister broke out in her eyes with a radiance of determination. She agrees to act. It is covered by this wave. Even the wolf feels its passion and gently steps. The decision was made finally. They are ready to take their step together. Maya with his satellites could approach, as a feeling of danger in the air. The wolves tensed, their wool became stubborn, and a worrying expectation appeared on the faces of the girls. Unknown, powerful power was rapidly approaching. Against the backdrop of increasing anxiety in the field of view, a maiden figure appears. With each moment, the flow of incomprehensibly dense mana, which is inevitably approaching, thickens. Even without being an experienced fire magen, he immediately captures. It is a radiation of sincere danger. Here, the mysterious rider in flame armor stems from darkness in front of the heroine. Instead of the expected fright, sincere admiration is poured on her face. The heroine is stunning the incredible sight. A mysterious figure emerges from the shadows with a sword, whose body combines human grace and a horse's power, like a fabulous rider centralist. It is determined. One of the girls suddenly grabs a sister by the hand and vigorously pulls it behind. In response, the sister's face blooms surprise. She does not have time to understand the situation, but already steps. Having realized the true power of Geruto's magic, the girl instantly dares to enter into a contract with him, taking her sister with her. The surprise of others has no limits. All are stunned by this unexpected turn. Grasping his girlfriend by his hand, he pulls her together, in his thoughts drawing rainbow dreams. If this guy was really a magician of water, they would be able to stay together forever. However, dreams are broken into harsh reality and true feelings. The heart suggests that it is simply impossible to let go. The enemy is rushing at the hero with a devastating attack. Surprise and anxiety cover the face of the hero, because the protective layer of skin with a crash split, clearly pointing to a deadly danger. A lightning attack flashes nearby. There is no time to blink. The blow is rapidly approaching its goal. The Raishin's powerful effort managed to repel the attack, but at the cost of heavy loss, his hand was torn off. With horror on the face, the girl breaks on the cry, and the cut limb falls to the ground. The opponent resorts to the poison. Immediately becomes obvious. The situation is threatening. Among the allies is a magical weapon, a light whip that is ready to grasp the victory in the chaos of battle. Another fighter is rapidly breaking into the arena, seeking to protect Rusin, and instantly changes the midst of collision. The surprise sailed in the view of the ally, when Haruto suddenly attracted his attention. In the same mint, the bright scourge of light air. It was used to sharply discard the enemy to the side. An unexpected trouble caught the team of heroes by surprise. One of them is seriously injured, and help is needed immediately. The girl, without losing a second, fights for his life, trying to stop the bleeding, and in the meantime, another in despair calls for decisive action. In the air, Voltage is hung. Everyone understands. The least delay can cost life. A few seconds of hesitation, and the space shrinks around like a storm. Near the impatient comrade, he is strongly demanding of determination, urging not to lose courage. The tension reaches the boundaries, forcing the hero to view his own place and duty among his associates. In the very cell of the magical circle, the demon with threatening, fuzzy face and scattering of the eyes, which seem to permeate the space, suddenly materializes. Under his feet, mysterious runes flash, illuminating the surrounding darkness with the harbinger of a mighty ritual or spell. Lightly waving her hand, the young sorceress lifts a magical curtain around the light that immediately stops a demon, which has already released its destructive power. Circumstances are exacerbated to the limit, and the company is forced to act lightly, putting aside all the contradictions. In the midst of a fierce battle, a mysterious fiery knight appears, as if a spark flashing on the battlefield. His unexpected appearance causes delight among the characters, gives a wave of hope and instantly changes the course of the battle itself. Suddenly, the fiery knight rushes into battle, causing a powerful blow to the monster. Stunned characters do not have time to say the words. The ardent spear of the knight pierces the enemy, leaving behind a bunny heart monster. The last blow is crucial. The nucleus is crushed, and the fears fell defeated. The monster did not die. On the contrary, a new hand sprouts from his shoulder. The heroes are aware that only by destroying the whole body to the last cell will they be able to put an end to it. Otherwise, the monster will return again and again. The characters understand that the only chance to overcome the enemy is to splash all the magical power to the drop. But when the eyes of one of them fall down, it becomes obvious. The forces are almost gone. The exhaustion is inscribed in every movement. The atmosphere is exacerbated to the limit in this frame. Tina-sensei, exhausted or severely injured, barely holding on his feet. To help her, a friend in whose eyes was a lot of anxiety. The seriousness of the moment is relentlessly pressed on the team, undering the morale and forcing everyone to feel the true weight of danger. Gathering the power of two tails, the fox still feels that this power is not enough. Looking at the abyss of the magic barrier, Yuko without hesitation gives himself a sacrifice. He releases a powerful flow of mana, directing him to the owner. All for him. Now everything is decided only by his will. Thanks to the fox, which transmitted Manu, the master finally restored strength and is ready for battle. The words of gratitude were performed verse, but in response, a decisive voice was heard. There was a moment when there is no point in holding back. Time to go to the attack. The stranger appeals to Haruto with a request. Warning, this time will be a real demon, against which the usual magic is powerless. It becomes clear that it will be possible to win only because of something special, extremely powerful. The demon at a frantic recovery rate, so powerful that it is able to sweep whole countries from the face of the earth. Ordinary magic will be futile against it. Only a huge portion of thermal energy can crush its core. The girl turns to the hero, urging to use all the power to protect everyone. With great determination, the hero reveals his strength, swearing no longer to repeat past mistakes. However, there is a reminder nearby. Only 30% of power is allowed to be used. The hero, gathering all his power, unfolds an inevitable offensive, decisively standing up for everyone nearby. The action is transferred to the ancient sacred place, where in the eternal dream, the god of darkness is asleep. To this mysterious monastery rapidly rushes a young priestess. Inevitable events are about to shake the silence of the sanctuary. In a lonely sanctuary, where only silence and emptiness are drawn, the priestess returns to his duties. She was entrusted with the restoration of the destroyed walls, put in order and carefully take care of every detail of the sacred place. However, there is an understanding between these ancient walls. There is no one to tell about the significance of the sanctuary. Without being distracted by her duties, the girl carefully measures the level of negative energy and calculates the associated costs. The head has thoughts about the future ideas of a new ruler of demons, but many urgent cases do not allow you to focus only on these anxieties. All worries for the temple lie exclusively on the shoulders of the priestess. It seems to be amazing that the dark god, even being alone, absorbs energy, and he does not need any action. Catching a strange reaction of the amulet, the girl finally realizes that she went too far. Prolonged stay in the sanctuary kept her apart from the world. But as soon as she first came out, The admiration of freedom turned into an unexpected activation of demonic force. Full of confidence, the young warrior boldly falls into the void of the battle, convinced of the correctness of his own choice. The only goal is to destroy the demon and protect the most expensive people. The doubt settles in the soul of the hero. The opponent seems incapable of confirming his loudly stated force. His power is clearly exaggerated. As soon as it was possible to overcome the demon, how a new attack is hanging over the heroes. The fiery element absorbs the forest, spreading the flames further. Simultaneously is a short-cutting barrier that is a fire that is about to fall. It is necessary to find a way to stop the fire immediately before the flames destroy everything around. By managing the flame curb, Haruto orders Yuko to store a protective barrier. Friends are amazed at his skill and discuss how it easily copes with such powerful magic. Limited to a simpler combination will be covered to resolve a critical situation. The curse of the evil god forbids the hero to spell any spells, the cost of which exceeds 10 man. The satellite immediately draws attention to how skillfully he derives magical symbols. A comprehensive stock of mana forces Haruto to create special clusters from 10 units. These clusters take the form of symbols, fold into a sophisticated magical circle. And the final touch is a spell, which intertwines about 1,000 different characters. Because of the curse, the hero is deprived of the ability to use powerful magic, so he skillfully resorts to simple magic, causes a creature capable of curling fire. The girls are delighted and do not hide their surprise. Skillfully taking advantage of a limited stock of mana, the guy found a method to call a powerful creature. A complex magical circle allowed it to do so with minimal cost of power. Haruto turns to the water power, causing the spirit of the water element, Unin. The charming creature immediately recognizes the boy. It has been 3 years since their paths have crossed the last time. For a long time restraining his emotions, Undine reproaches the boy. Too long, he passed without any news from him, and loneliness has depressed her heart. Failure is in response, sincerity comes in every word. Meanwhile, the girl is embarrassed, embarrassing brightly on her face. She apologizes in confusion, and without realizing what is happening. Among the crowd, Undine recognizes 2 girls, both by May. One of them looks confusedly at the familiar figure without being surprised. In response, Garuto calmly confirms. Yes, a long time has passed. Subsequently, Undine addresses one of the girls with a delicate question whether she was able to find a candidate for a contract. However, in response, the words of apology are heard. May confessed that she has not found anyone worthy. Suddenly the guy interferes with the dialogue, reminding that the flame should be extinguished. May learns that Undine has already concluded an agreement with him. The surprise glowed in the eyes of the sister when the truth opened. It was Garuto who is the contractor of the monarch of water spirits. She was offered to join the case because the magic of water also flowed in her veins. Without hesitation, she agreed to help. The flames flares even brighter. Garuto calls for the bodice to use the same technique she used during class competitions. Warns. Using Undine will release a powerful stream of water into the sky. Its task is to scatter the water by a magical force, turning it into a light water curtain. Lifa nods as a sign of consent, realizing that with every attempt to support the barrier she has given it more and more difficult. Words of apology and support from the hero find a response in her heart, adding a little strength to further struggle. Hijau Haruto concentrates and begins to wake up. His voice is confidently heard when he calls on Undine. In front of the hero suddenly arises Undine, the spirit of water. The hero confidently extends forward, preparing to strike. The bodice tilted the bow, calling the magic arrow, and focused all the goals. Drops of water swell around everywhere, realizing it causes a sweeping wind. The spell flies straight into the fire. Haruto is interested in the bodice whether she has the strength to go on. The girl confidently replies that she is ready to continue. Raising your hand up, Undine confidently states that all the difficulties behind, now everything will be fine. The drops of water are powerlessly falling into the fire, but the flames only fires harder. She, with a shade of sarcasm, notes that their makeshift rainfall is absolutely useless. The fire is only gaining strength. Let me ask, can you try? Full of impatience, the girl appeals to Maya. The girls gently intertwine their hands. The two of them make a spell that gives birth to an icy ballad. Ice crystals are born in the air. May, with a voice filled with determination, reports his sister about the beginning. One of the sisters intended to lift the icy element high into the sky. The ice flows easily rise into the sky with young sorceresses. Friendly talking, girls plan to lift even more icy blocks into the air. Turning to Gato, he asks him to warm the clouds with flames, confessing that all her reserves are already exhausted. The hero's thoughts are understanding. You need to release water with und further. It accepts the girl and without hesitation supports her initiative. Haruto focuses on the spell. Calling a fiery demon named Ifrit, the hero calls him to help girls. The demon is welcome with a smile, and the boys fade away from shock. The surprise overwhelms the girls. Quoted, Mei exclaims, "Is it really an Ifrit?" The girl thinks whether Garuto has also concluded an agreement with Ifrit. It is surprised by such unexpected news. I recall the conversation with because it was then that she noted, he has the same aura as Ifrit. The demon solemnly begins witchcraft, shouting, "My passionate!" Full of admiration, the girl confesses Haruto of her feelings. With relief, he exhales. Mei, with a warm understanding, says that my experiences are quite understandable. The rain silently drops outside the window. The fragile palms of the girls are intertwined. Mei admits bitterness that she has a close desire to contract with Haruto-sama, even if it means the end of their relationship. The surprise was in the eyes of Mei when she asked her sister with questions about just heard words addressed to Haruto-sama. The sister's light exhalation accompanies her restrained answer. Yes. Light rain falls on the face, and its slowly wave drops from the forehead. The stormy rain soaked sisters. The indignation of Mei's face. Wet things annoy her to tears. But Mei is in a great mood. She is not afraid of any bad weather. Awareness of returning to true itself is accompanied by a certain inconvenience for Mei. All you have to do is gain patience and afford this time. A smile appears on her face, and thoughts say confidently, Uto-sam will not allow anything. The surprise covers Ryan. He does not have whether the demon appeared in the forest. Connie points out that the real problem was that the academy failed to find a demon. Through this event, the classes are cancelled today, and the group that usually used the forest has decided to leave the Tina class. The feather in the elf stops in the air, and the focused look is fulfilled. The question sounds, what were the first years? As you ask about the victims, instead of anxiety, he learns that in that part of the city, everything has already been repaired, and all goals and intact, Connie reassured. Hearing this, the elf smiled happily and hurried to clarify. Did the heroine, Tina herself? A spooky image of a girl with a vicious look emerges in memory. Catman acknowledges that he has not yet understood all the details, and assures that the final blow of the demon was not Tina. The source of the heroic feat, which rescued everyone from the demon, was the unexpected figure, Garuto Silver, the third son of Count Silveri, Connie reports. In memory, Ryan instantly floats a familiar name. It seems that this is the guy who, when he appeared at school, managed to punch a huge hole in the wall of the core, and later forced his parents to compensate for the damages. The Alpha is surprised. How miracle of the protagonist managed to win. Inside the memories, Connie emerges when he was summoned to the director's office to find out the truth. Meanwhile, the careful look of Garuto stops at the director, and in the thoughts of Mike guesses. His grandfather stands in front of him. The look stops on the shade, and a wave of relief grows inside. It is good that everything is fine with it. Haruto is interested in the worker's concern. The young man replies that everything is fine with him. Grandpa, his hand notes that his grandson is constantly remembered by Garuto, and these words cause a guy a genuine surprise. The director does not stop and emphasizes. The gap in the abilities between him and peers always seemed tremendous. However, his own talent, which his fate gave, has never tried to develop. The surprise overshadows Haruto's face until his hand continues. Recently his presence has become a remarkable incentive for his grandson. This is what inspired the boy to take magic seriously. The director thanks the hero for friendship with his grandson. In response, Haruto with a smile notes that he is also pleased to make friends with a boy. The hand gently takes the hero by the hand and notices that his mana remained very little. Director of Interest wondered what approximate number of mana most likely corresponds to the first level. The tension was shrugged by Geruto's body. It is not in vain that the rector of the Magical Academy stands in front of him, so he already guessed his magical potential. Dissatisfied to the depths of the soul, Tina insists. Even when it comes to the headmaster, it is necessary to apologize to the hero for such a conversation. Having embarrassed, his hand pleads guilty and admits that he really bent. With a smile, full of rest, Garuto assures the teacher of his good health, adding that he had long expected when the truth was still outward. Soon Tina, looking focused, wondered that he could have leaked out. Haruto, slowly returning to the director, asked, "Everything he was about to tell is secret." With a slight smile, the director assures that the hero may not force himself to open hidden opportunities. The walls of this school appreciates the uniqueness of each student. But if you want to share, promise to keep this secret. Returning to Tina, Haruto voices his desire. It is important for him that she should hear it. The girl nods, accepting his offer. Gathering all his power into his fist, the hero is finally preparing to check his own level. Surprise overflows Tina. Is it possible that the hero still stays the first level? There is no doubt here. There is some mysterious mysticism. The illumination pierces her. Finally comes why the hero would only be swept into the simple. The doubts are squeezed into the director's soul, and he states that the section is not extraordinary. Continuing his story, his hand talks about the curse of fossing of status. This is the first time he happens. He suggests that he may be the secret that he tried to hide. Haruto agrees, adding that it was because of this curse that his level remains the first. In memory, a decisive moment of reincarnation emerges. The insidious curse of the dark god has distorted its essence, and now everything that he has become is a consequence of this power. Horror overflows Tina. She opens a terrible truth. It is the evil god who is to blame for the king of demons, and he still sows fear and despair around the world. There is unwavering confidence. It's not just a myth. This nightmare is real. With a reproach in the voice of Haruto apologizes to Tina for hiding the truth from her. However, the girl only smiles slightly. The insults and the trace are left. She assures that all is well. Looking at the characteristics of the hero, the director is surprised. He cannot shy away from why breaking to God imposing such a curse on Haruto. In response, the protagonist recalls that he has informed himself. He does not want to see Haruto among those who create history in this world. The head of the director is the opinion. The destruction of the demon is extremely important. Tina, smiling, fully agrees, and confidently adds, "That's what she said." According to Haruto, the deity made a mistake, and it is difficult for him to believe it. With a surprise in his voice, his hand suggests that perhaps the god of darkness has made mistakes. The hero also expresses his readiness to use magic to explain in detail. The director approves the decision, so the hero is preparing to apply magic. Turning sharply, Haruto appeals to the director to evaluate how powerful and unique his mana is if you judge by status. Calls the spell Fire List, but it does not bring any changes in its characteristics. The stunned Tina cannot believe her eyes. The hero's man's level remained unchanged. The young man assures that no matter how much he had, his mana will remain unchanged. The look of the teacher's teacher is filled with distrust. Is it really a curse? In the dawn face, the ice of fear is frozen, and the very thought of such frightens to the disadvantages. Initially, it seemed that the curse restricted its maximum characteristics, and a completely different suspicion was born. Probably, God himself made a mistake, imposing this curse on him. Suddenly, the director illuminated. He allegedly realizes that the protagonist has endless reserves of mana. But then what is the source of such a frantic force, capable of even demons to tear out of life? The hero pronounces the spell, showing how he actually works. He assures that he often turns to simple ones, each of which consumes less than 10 units of magical energy. Subsequently, it skillfully combines these small spells, exacerbating its own power, while causing flames and darkness. The director assured that it is real and without spells. Magic allows. Tina immediately realized his opinion. Arguto has a fun admit that during the destruction of the training arena, it was possible to collect as many as 50,000 fiery spears. The girl, hearing it, does not hide her astonishment. With gratitude to Professor Tina, Rukas emphasizes, her help made it possible to repel such magic. The excited professor tries to hide confusion, they say. Everything is under control. Fortunately, the blow fell not on her, but on the stone, which was interfered. The director notes that if Garuko and a really stranger from another world, then his power is fully explained. And he is well aware that something is wrong with the hero, and his abilities are significantly different from the usual boundaries. The hand warns Haruko against the excesses, advising to keep the measure in everything. On the face of the protagonist, a friendly smile blooms. He readily supports the proposal of the director. Tina comes to the guy with a soft step and thanks sincerely for her patient. The hero returns to her, wondering whether she completed the conversation with the director. Tina notes that the director tries to support the hero in every possible way. Karku adds that the director is a real benefactor. However, Tina is convinced that those worries arise only because the director wants to protect the school, not to help the hero himself. A bold smile rode on the face of the hero, and with ease he promised to be careful. The girl fades in a place when the voice of Haruko, who calls her, suddenly erupts. With sadness in the voice, Tina apologizes, acknowledging that she has always remained nearby. Tears swollen on her cheeks. How could she not notice the curse? From the thought of the suffering he suffered, the soul encompassed desperate powerlessness. The sincerity of her feelings, the protagonist assures that he does not feel any insults. Having taken her hand, she gratefully says that he was lucky to have such a wonderful mentor as she. A clear awareness comes to the hero. It is thanks to her the skill of mastering the magical merger that has grown rapidly. Otherwise, it would take much longer. With a smile on the face of Garuto, Tina is asked to share new knowledge with him. The moved professor gently pronounces the name of the hero. Joy tears illuminate her face, and words of consent take off from his mouth in response to the hero. Watching them to the side, the girl notes that these two find commonplace surprisingly. She turns to the Rhina with interest, trying to find out, is it really? It clearly states that Tina looks like a common girl in the presence of Haruto. Before the girl, the main character quietly stops and confesses, that's how everything happened. The next day, in the comfort of the backyard, Yulkoi is mounted on the hero's lap. Twins fit and turn to Karato, asking for permission to distract him for a minute. The hero is surprised that Mei now turns to him, Samach. Her gaze watches his carefully. After hearing their request, the hero nods to consent and inadvertently thinks, do girls are going to confess to him in their feelings? The girls begin to lose their clothes slowly, and the brightly shaky shame flashes on the hero's face. With surprise on the face, Haruto quit questions by the twins, trying to understand what they plan to do next. In the mouth of the girls sounds the name of the hero, and this word becomes a code for amazing reincarnation. The wings sprout in twins. The true essence comes to the surface. The hero lifts his eyebrows in surprise and asks if girls really have perfumes. The thoughts of the Aryuta are intertwined with a sweet sense of guilt when the look slides on their bodies. Meanwhile, the twins are quietly pronounced by his name. After focusing, the main character is intensely looking for the right words to express everything as accurately as possible. It is wondering if girls are closer with Udina, because she is a spirit. In response, there is a brief confirmation. Yes, this is true. Mei addresses Haruto with a proposal to conclude a contract with them. This question makes the guy think more seriously than ever. Sleeping covers girls. One before the other, they recognize that their hearts belong to him. Such unexpected frankness causes the hero by surprise, causing genuine surprise. Having thought of whether the twins, to the liking of his mana, she notes with relief that at least Tina is always near him. In the moment, Haruto, the truth opens. The purpose of this world is to become strong enough to protect Tina, like a real hero. Joy covers it, because the ability to conclude an agreement with spirits becomes a powerful weapon along the way. With a smile, she realizes that these girls are not weak at all, so there is no reason. Thanks to Mei and Mei, Haruto agrees to conclude an agreement with them. The Baisitas shine with happiness, hold their hands firmly and quietly apologize for the future act. At the same time, their lips touch the hero's cheeks, giving an unexpected and exciting kiss. In the heart of Haruto, joy blooms and vital energy flows through each of his cells. The girls are again in the world of spirits. The hero finally realizes that when the spirits make an agreement, their path leads back into their own world. Only in this way they are able to appear among people, when the one with whom they connect their contract will call. The thought flashes in your head. How do you want to share school joys together with these two? In the soul of Haruto, the question is born. Not without a grand magic circle cannot do if you want to hold the call for a long time. Stressing to the limit, putting all the forces in an attempt to fulfill the plan. In the head of the hero, thoughts were stuck, the intention to gather them together, and then came to mind. But in memory, there was a slight echo of the aura that felt from each of them. The hero creates a spell and causes a spear overflowing with heavenly lightning. The spear was about to appear as an unfamiliar head suddenly appeared from the surface of the circle. In the mind, Haruto prevailed completely confusion. No idea what that means. A huge figure in the armor emerges in front of the hero. It is difficult to understand who is hiding under heavy patches. The heavenly spiritual king himself is majestic before Gudo. The shock was stuck, as if struck by thunder. The hero calls his full name, and then he is curious about who the king of heavenly spirits is. He suggested that if I was summoned at the same time, both versions would be combined into one. The king of heavenly spirits gladly notes that he first meets Haruto. It is a lord of all the heavenly spirits that live on this earth. The realization that fate has brought him with a true spirit for the first time in his life floods Haruto's reflections. The high spirit of the dawn is apology reports that he has many important things to do now, and requests him to allow him to return to his own world. A surprise is amazed on the face, and the guy turns to the king of heavenly spirits with a question, whether he is able to go back on his own. The king of heavenly spirits acknowledges. Haruto is subordinated to his will. It is incredible that a creature with real devilish abilities appeared in the world, which can even call him. Apparently, the magical circle was too big. This is the thought flashed in the head of the hero. Suddenly, the silence broke the voice of the king of heaven himself, who addressed him. Mr. Haruto, full of longing for her daughters. The owner of the spirits expresses a fervent desire to return home and ask. The hero with a smile accepts a request, confessing that he cannot refuse to whom he had recently treated him with his acquaintance with the owner of the star spirits, because even the kings bow their heads before such meetings. The Lord of the Stars nods approvingly, pushing to complete the case without delay. Immediately after these words carefully takes it into your hands. The owner of heavenly spirits lifts Haruto to his mouth and pours it saliva. The staggering shakes it like a cold wave, leaving in complete numbness. The main character's thoughts emerge a memory of the events that happened several years ago. It was at that moment that he first dared to try the magic of the call. Looking back to Tina, the guy convinces. The element of fire is the perfect choice for the first contract. Tina instead invites him to imagine the flame. Only in the words, fiery spear, the hero challenges fate, attempting to make a call. Before his eyes, a fiery spirit appears from the flames, majestically presenting like Ifrit, the owner of the fire spirits. Tina is stunned by the unexpected appearance of the owner of the fire spirits, whom the protagonist calls on the first attempt. The passionate Tina does not hide her surprise. In her opinion, the hero deserves the highest praise. It's just incredible. Haruto responds to her words with a note of surprise. Yes? It is only necessary to call the protagonist to sign a contract, as he, barely managed to say hello, solidifies in half a word. A cold, Frick's powerful hand suddenly grabs him, not letting agree. Tina welcomes Haruto on the first signed contract. It is at this moment that the owner of the fire spirits raises the contract to the mouth and boldly spits Haruto in the face. He also remembers the moment when, by the way, fate brought with Undina to sign the agreement. Tina's smile seemed to him burdensome, as if something unspeakable behind her involuntarily arises, and suddenly Tina sympathized with him since then. Modernity is returning. The majestic king of heavenly spirits says goodbye to Heart, addressing the boy as a master. In response, sincere words of wishes and gentle, "Thank you, uncle," were made. But the spirit immediately stops him, insisting, "No uncle, but the king of heavenly spirits." With a deaf roar, the hero's fist crashes into the ground. Having tightened his teeth, he thoroughly decides for himself. This time he will try to call Mei and Mei separately. Having delved into the memories of Mei, Haruto decides to create a less magical circle this time, more clearly imagining her image in her imagination. Magic words: come, Mei, spear of fire. Zrenya. He begins a spell. As if born from the flame itself, there is an impressive sight before his eyes. The hero comprehends that his plan has been successful. With a friendly smile on the face of Mei meets the main character. In an instant, Mei, full of joy, rushes to meet the food, trying to embrace him, and suddenly her impulse breaks off the appearance of the King of Heaven himself. The owner of the star spirits, not noticing the hero, is called a loud, powerful voice. Who dare to strive to conclude an agreement with the fire spirit of Mei? Name yourself in front of me. The ruler commands him to demonstrate his power. The owner of heavenly spirits notes Garuto, in whose arms are Mei. Three are closely encountered by views full of surprise and misunderstanding. The fire spirit confirms that the king really watched her. Looking back to the Mai, the protagonist tries to find out whether it is enough to prove his power to this person. He calls for the king of heavenly spirits to lean in front of him, but the king suddenly stops this gust. The supreme spirit of heavenly stars delay the protagonist into his dimension, so that no foreign sound will prevent their secret conversation. Haruto is surprised to turn to the king of the spirits, demanding explanations about his actions, but in response he hears that it was the same words that the king himself had to tell him. The owner of the star spirits is surprised to address the hero, interested in the reason for the sudden order to fall down in front of his daughter. Is there not cruelty here? Garuto's reaction is a genuine surprise. He immediately asks his daughter. With the surprise, the father admits that he had no idea about the hero's ability to call his own daughters. Thoughts cover the hero. Is he worthy of concluding an agreement with Mei and Mei? Doubts torture the heart without resting at this responsible moment. The majestic king of heavenly spirits recognizes the dignity of Haruto, confirming that he is truly worthy of the elect. The spiritual king is surprised that he is capable of appearing in the world of people when a large number of people sincerely wants. However, Haruto, contrary to all the rules, called him alone. The spiritual king with delight states that the protagonist has an incredible force hidden. The young man is wondering whether his interlocutor has any conditions, for which he nods. The Stardust strokes his conditions, starting with a gentle confession. For him, Mai and Me are the most expensive daughters that he extremely value and cares. The spirit of the king appeals to Haruto to give the word, not to draw his daughters into cruel battles. If you need a real warrior, it will be better to fight on the side of the hero. With these words, the majestic ruler drops to his knees, bowing his head in a deep bow in front of Haruto. The hero accepts the conditions of the king and calls for his head. Haruto assures that at the most responsible moment he will turn to the successor for support. The ruler of the star spirits with genuine gratitude appeals to the hero. It is at this moment that tears are rolling from his eyes. The protagonist notes that he takes a little time to create a magical circle for teleportation, because it will give the necessary magic power. The power of Haruto stuns the king of heaven himself, forcing him to be surprised to look at the young man. In the imagination of the king, the question is steadily swinging. What did this demonic force flared up before him? The idea of who this guy can be does not give him rest. The same night, the luxurious estate breaks the piercing cry of the protagonist. Without hesitation, Tina Streamhead is in search of her student, trying to find out what happened to him. Bursting into the bathroom, the professor shouted loudly the name of the protagonist. Throwing into the darkness of the bathroom, Tina looks around, trying to understand what happened here. Her gaze falls on a woman's lingerie, disorderly thrown to the floor. Collecting linen scattered on the floor, Tina looks at those who bathe and asks what to do with all this. Fairly looking for an excuse, Haruto hastily assures that everything was not at all as it could seem. The professor suddenly interrupts, with interest in asking what it is about. The terrible oscul suddenly blossoms on the teacher's face, forcing the main character to shudder with fear. In the bathroom, along with the main character, girls sparkle. At this point, Tina, noticing them, is genuinely surprised. It was difficult to imagine that right now the estate will be not only Yuko, but also twin sisters. Nervously talking, Mei is indignant. The teacher is so cold-blooded that the frost on the skin. Helplessness sounds in every word. It seems that a girlfriend does not know how to be on. Two girls, looking for support, are firmly grabbing by the hero's shoulders. With a trembling hand, Yuko firmly grabs his head and begins to worry, confessing how much she is covered by fear, and he calls the boy himself as a hero. Girls' hands envelop the hero on all sides, and suddenly comes the illumination. Among this blizzard, he can feel much better than everyone else. Professor Tina grabs them with a harsh, icy look. The situation is truly threatening. The main character immediately realizes that it is necessary to act immediately. With an incendiary smile on the face, the guy makes an unexpected offer to the teacher to join their water fun. Penafines finds a maiden underwent. Inside, indignation and shame are raging, and it breathes hard from an unexpected blow. With frantic sharpness, the professor throws a girl's underwear in a Karuto and requires not to fever, but to hold back her haste. The shy Tina's scream breaks the air when the linen is just on his head. The hero annoying that by sharing one bed with the teacher, and stubbornly refuses to go with him to the bath. Yuko claims that outstanding personalities are always distinguished by the train to earthly pleasure. The mysterious meaning of her words is nervous by Geruto. The meaning of the said slips from him. It confesses that in the look of the nine-tailed fox seems too young, but at the same time it is proud to treat its own appearance. Yuko notes that Mei and Mei are extremely beautiful in their own way. The girls are assigned to both Haruto, and the hero feels awkward and cheeks burning. Despite the fact that a company of 3 magical girls rages around the hero, it was Tina who called to join them for bathing. Yuko is interested in how to explain this behavior in general. The hero tries to justify himself, stating that all this is not true, and assures that he only wanted to offer the teacher to join a friendly font. However, he is clearly aware of his own insincerity. In memory, a number of events that brought him to this moment are floating. Memories of the past are reminiscent of the past. They have become the beginning of everything that is happening now. Lisa suddenly declares his desire to join them, leaving Haruto in full surprise. He cannot stop what is happening here. In memory, her words emerge about how Tina is constantly interference. However, today is a special day when she was destined to become a mother from the hero. Rapidly dropping her clothes, the girl suddenly jumps on the guy, stunning him out of the track. The magic of the icy wall flies into the air, and Yuko crashes into a crystallized barrier. The spell was in the hands of two girls named Mei, and this extraordinary appearance stunned Gyuto to the heart. The realization that the secret thoughts became the property of others permeates the hero anxiety. Mai assures that a strange rhythm was worried in his heart, but now they are nearby, and all the troubles will remain behind. Anger lights up the Mage. It does not restrain indignation, and declares that it is good to pour out on Yuko. The hero immediately interferes and asks her to be able to. A respectable voice emphasizes that there is no place to find out relationships. Here, people clean their bodies. It is a bath. And remember, it is impossible to stay in the shoes in this shrine. Mei is frowning and ominously says that he understands everything. Haruto feels the ants run on her back. A flock of girls suddenly exclaims that they are waiting for a wedding. Yuko is slow, hugs him from behind, carefully rapping to himself. Girls with a smile challenge each other to undress, and without hesitation do it. Meanwhile, Tina covers a real shock, and the main character unexpectedly breaks into a cry. Sinking into the water, Mei finally stated that the hero showed his true face. A shadow of anxiety ran in the face of Haruto. The things were bad. But suddenly her vision caught something important. Mei's gaze slides down, the mouth whispering incomprehensible words. The hero remains unwavering. The mother is wondering what her sister does, and notes that she is smaller than the pop. Meanwhile, a spirit king is floating in the memory of Haruto, and he understands that he cannot have any more. The hero unexpectedly encompasses the idea that his body reacted exactly below the belt. Haruto comes to the awareness. He possesses the power of the sage and is able to control his mana. An even greater discovery is that even the smallest disorder in it obeys this energy without a residue. Mei looks carefully in his face, keeping silence. The warm touch lies on the foot of the hero, and the caring voice is interested in her well-being. In response, she only mysteriously points out that such people happen among us. The review covers the Tina of the hero among girls. The picture dissolves. The memory is interrupted. The hurrying step brings the main character to the kitchen where the teacher is. Tina, noticing him, gently says the name of the hero. The knife with a honeybee is cut into potatoes, and dissatisfaction with each of her motion, as it is, despite the fact that Greto belongs to her. Does he still go to the bathroom with other girls? The hero immediately captures before him a real scene of jealousy. Suddenly, Tina understands that only young girls with gentle, like silk, are around. Own age makes one think. Although it is still young for elves, the years are felt compared to these beauties. However, even in spite of this youth, Haruto never went with her to the bath, securing her secretly. The hero cannot take his look away from this magical picture. Realizing that it was the guy who invited her, the professor felt a real desire to leave, but the stubbornness took the mountain, and she politely refused. Meanwhile, the words of the woman inspired Haruto, giving him new strength. The protagonist invites Tina to relax in hot springs. The cheeks flare up with the heat of shame, and, embarrassed by hiding her gaze, the girl is wondering how long the boy is already bringing her. In response, he receives the assurance. It took very little time. Haruto confesses that she does not consider her old at all, on the contrary, sees in her a sophisticated, charming girl. Tears of shame approach Tina's eyes. She blames the hero of hearing everything. The hero hurries to apologize. With interest, Haruto asks the teacher how she treats his idea, and whether the girl agrees with him to go to hot springs. The shame floods her cheeks, and she is uncertain about whether they go together. The guy confirms her assumption, adding that they will go there exclusively together. A smile shines on the face of Tina. She gladly agrees to make him accompany. The pleasure is glowing in Haruto's eyes. He joyfully agrees, and offers to visit the next weekend. The professor awaits this journey with special eagerly. The excitement was so absorbed by the girl that she, without clearing herself, cleaned a whole mountain of potatoes. The hero looks around and asks what to do with this good now. Having shrugged with his shoulders, Tina suggests that for some time he will have to eat exclusively potatoes. The face of the hero is illuminated by a playful smile, and he replies that they will cope with her in a moment. Because there are 5. The mischievous look of the teacher permeates the silence. Why did Gerudo name 5? Responding reports. May now his spirits, so he intends to allow them to settle in the guest room. The shadows of the shadows give a real storm of emotions, and in the eyes already shine with unrestrained tears. Awareness becomes unbearably painful. Finally, all the truth was revealed before her. The hero has frozen in place, covered with sudden insight. The meaning of events becomes shamefully obvious. The promise to visit hot fireboxes helped him reassure the professor, and this thought immediately brought relief. Tina's gaze goes somewhere up. The promise Dana Haruto pops out to dive into hot springs together. From the very morning, and even from the moment, as a call from the hero appeared in her life, true joy blossomed in her soul. The expectation of today's meeting was warming the heart and gave unspeakable happiness. In the memory of Tina, memories of yesterday, every free moment passed on the observation of the protagonist. However, in this admiration, there was a barely catchy falsehood, as if reality suddenly lost its transparency. The professor acknowledges that her gaze always distinguished him from all, even when other girls were rushed around. The soul fills the joy. Finally, the opportunity to spend time alone from Haruto. Tina's gaze slides down. Some mysterious object is visible under the door. Under the door, a postcard was unexpectedly found. In a letter, the girl encounters a message from the main character. He promises to wait for her near the fountain in the very heart of the city at exactly 10. Tina's cheeks flare up with a blush from the very opinion of a date with their student. The hat is in her hands, and thoughts already draw a future date. Tina's confession was made as a real revelation. Today, as never before, she is encouraged to fulfill a long-standing dream, to go on a date with the main character. The girl approaches the fountain. He immediately notices Haruto and turns to him loudly. The young man politely responds to the greeting of the mentor, sharing heart words. In her own reflections, Tina notes how well the clothes emphasize the features of the protagonist. In this outfit, he seems especially attractive. She apologizes for making her wait, Tina, but Rutu just smiles and reassures, he just came. The main character's look stops at the updated mentor. The compliment about the magical appearance instantly takes off with the mouth, and in response, Tina's cheeks flare up with a shy. Having become discord, she thanks quietly. Having reached out, Haruto invites Tina to join him. Not saying the word, Tina gently puts her hand in his palm. The girl's cheeks flare up with a blush. 2 anxious thoughts break down in her head. What to do next, and will the heart stand with such excitement today? Having held Tina to the carriage, Gudo confidently answered her astonished question, whether they would go together. The protagonist is interested in the girl whether this crew is attracted to her. But she smiles and replies with delight that yes. And then he is thinking about whether this charming carriage is too expensive. Haruto proudly reports that specifically for their first meeting, he ordered the most charm, which only managed to find throughout the city. The words of the protagonist caused a violent, almost uncontrolled reaction in the girl. Tina confessed sincerely touched by the care of Haruto. Even the most winged and shabby trolley would be enough for happiness. Happiness has spilled in her heart from understanding. It is really important to a student. Tina sincerely expressed her gratitude to the hero. In her thoughts, the girl quietly apologized for the outbreak of anger that happened in the bathroom, and sincerely acknowledged her heart was already irreversibly owned by Haruto. 3. Mei and Yuko. Lively thoughts about the trip of the protagonist together with Tina to hot springs. Yuko begins to think about whether they have arrived or not. Mei asks me what a hot spring is. In response, they explain, "This is a place where you can swim in the middle of nature." Yuko is almost falling asleep. But the moment before wrapping in the night hugs, his mother insists, "First, do the housework." The fox is shared by a secret. She has recently spent all the manu which has accumulated in her 9 tails, so he has to rest now to restore strength. Yurko of the 9-tailed fox states that she dreams of sleeping plenty in the afternoon, and if she spends these hours near Harito, he said, magical energy will be recovered much faster. The quiet complaint was from the mouth of Mei, which complained to the hunger, and in response he heard, "The feeling of emptiness in the human body is unpleasant tart." However, she immediately reassured her sister, reminding Tina left food for them. If Mei's memory does not betray, the most important thing is to warm it up. With the intention of warming up the dish, my time was to speak a mighty spell. The loud explosion forced Yuko to shudder at fear. There was a 9-eyed fox in the kitchen, trying to find out what happened here. Lisa caught the sisters near the plate. They considered the food that Tina left and burned to the ground. When the cauldron rose, There were only a few residues of coal instead of the appetizing dish. The upset Yuko sighed, confessing that she dreamed of tasting the brown, which Tina was preparing. The girls apologized to the fox, and immediately in her eyes a spark of plan flashed. The face clearly gave the birth of a new idea. The indifferent sigh of Yuko pulled the apron belt as if he were confused with the circumstances. Uco undertook to cook an omelet for the younger ones, reminding them of the need to appreciate her care. One of the sisters shone with joy, and the other was surprised and confused. Meanwhile, Tina from Garuto stopped at the edge of the forest and decided to go on foot, around the dangerous creatures that were hiding in the forest. The teacher assures the protagonist, no monsters near her cause even the shadows of fear. With interest, the hero asked Tina why he knew. In response, the girl confidently stated she was preparing to be ready to overcome any monster that will happen on their way. The protagonist appealed to the professor to allow him to deal with the monsters on his own, explaining it with their date and unwillingness for her clothes to ruin. The flame spear Haruto flashes with lightning when he calls for the power of spelling. A fiery night broke out in front of the characters. Tina was not surprised. How much would the guy be able to combine to create such a miracle? She did not hold back the delight of his reliability. The protagonist shares with the girl. Yesterday went hunting for local monsters, although he does not exclude that the couple still remained out of his attention, just in case he invited the Knight of Fire. In response, Tina is interested in whether he intended to intentionally comb the forest in search of these monsters. The professor confessed to the protagonist that she is pleased to know. His concern for her sincere. Tina assured that she was able to stand for herself, because she has already reached 250 levels. The girl declared her readiness to fight if circumstances are required. A few moments of reflections, and the memories of the past were again engulfed by Haruto with a silent shadow. Allow him to become a shield for a shadow, at least for a short time, became a necessity. A light head of the head and an approving smile. The girl confessed that she relied entirely on Haruto, involuntarily engulfed pride. In the thoughts, Tina noted how a wonderful man the protagonist grew up. After reaching the dreamy sources, the characters finally found a cozy place where they could be dressed. Immediately the girl noticed, there is no soul near the sources. Hearing that Gudo had booked a place for them in advance, Tina suddenly flooded with a blush. The awareness of the girl, for the first time the main character will see her nude. The restless question flashed in the mind. Will everything be fine? The anxiety has thought, is Tina really satisfied with all that is happening? Meanwhile, in the family estate, Gudo's father dealt with accounts for sources, rescued the most expensive crew, and purchased whole mountains of dresses and all sorts of women's outfit. Haruto assures that this hot source is reserved for private use. No one will visit here anymore. Carefully raising his hand, the main character evokes the glow of charming runes on his palm. Tina, surprised by such a surprise, asks what a miracle. Haruto explains that this spell of the distortion of perception will not allow the outsider to notice the source hidden inside. The assurance is confidently heard. In the soft severe, no silhouette is premine, you can relax and fully enjoy the moment. In the depths of Tina's thoughts, admiration blooms. Her student has already mastered the art of creating protective spells. The professor politely asks her to leave her alone, after which the cheeks of Garuto are burning with a blush. He becomes ill and sincerely confesses that he does not want someone else to see a shadow body. With a smile, Tina sincerely thanks the student. With a barely hidden smile, Haruto is interested in a companion whether to go to hot springs for two or everyone separately. In response, she gently confesses that she wants to spend this time with a young man. The hero confidently shoots a t-shirt and gestures called Tina to join him. Capturing the vicious look of the mentor, the protagonist uncertainly points out that he feels inconveniently under such care. Tina, who is passionate about suddenly, is embarrassed and in a hurry. The feeling of thoughts appears. She looked too deep. Throwing memories, he remembers how he took care of Rudo, so he knows every feature of his body too well. Recently, Tina had no opportunity to observe it with her own eyes, but the bodily shape of the protagonist is even more striking. Each of his muscle has become more tight, and the appearance emits strength. Tina's thoughts return to how he carefully cares for her own body, so it is likely that pure, smooth skin is the result of this trembling attention. Stepping to the source, the professor is plunged into the water, carefully washing himself after the bath, and allows you to wrap each cell softly warm. Magic energy fills her body, as if it emerges from the deep bowels of the earth and merges with a transparent flow around. A satisfied smile appears on the teacher's face. Today leaves only gratitude in her heart. Without hiding joy, she shares warm words with a student and sincerely confesses that it is nice that they decided to visit these healing sources. A joyful smile shone on Haruto when Tina confessed that she liked here. The teacher's thoughts are the question. Why does the main character avoid even a short look in her direction? Unnoticed, Tina suddenly jumps on him and hugs his neck gentle but confident hands. In full voice, Haruto exclaims the name of his friend without hiding surprise. The realization that Tina leaned against him is instantly painting the hero's cheeks with a thick blush. The voice of the heroine is confidently heard when she asks Haruto to return to her and looks straight in the eye, looks over the shoulder and asks whether everything was done properly. Tina confesses that he wants to attract the look of the main character. Gerudo looks at Tina and enthusiastically recognizes her unearthly beauty. Having excitedly apologized for his inattention, the guy hears in response from the professor, who can contemplate her as much as he wants, and even touch, because now she belongs only to him. With a spark in his eyes, Haruto asks for permission to touch the Tina where he pleases. Smiling and not healing for a moment, she agrees, extends her hand to touch her lips with her kiss. The hero gently touches the lips of Tina's mouth, giving her the first kiss. He confessed that I wanted to feel the touch of her lips, because it was their second kiss. Easy excitement was already throbbing in it. The body was waiting for his touch, and the mouths were good to whisper his name. Closely hugging Emma, Tina whispers with a smile that she is not enough for her and seeks even more tenderness. Their lips face a gentle kiss, and the views are full of excitement. In an instant, the question is born. What do you feel? The intertwined fingers feel the warmth of each other. Garuto's voice is heard with a quiet hope. Can you already go? The teacher nods to the answer with a soft, tender smile, and her gaze speaks more than words. Carefully crossed, the magical circle comes to life under his hands, and the interested Tina, shaking his eyes, is interested. What intentions are hiding behind this sorcery? Haruto explains that it is necessary for teleportation. It is only necessary to walk and sweat will appear on the forehead, and they have just enjoyed the hot path. Asked about the magic of teleportation, Tina recalled that something like this had already happened to her, although she never had to see it with her own eyes. The mystery of teleportation lies in a special ritual. Leaving a magical circle in some place, you can then return there with another similar circle. It seems incredible that Haruto has such magic. Surprising, looking at the hero, she is wondering if he really can move in space. In response, the guy with a light smile confesses that himself only recently learned about this ability. Due to the spatial fault, Haruto is able to find himself again where he created a magical circle in advance, as if he calls himself using this unusual compound of places. Confidently holding the shadow by the hand, he starts it in the center of the magical circle and announces their immediate sending. The charming circle flashes a bright glow. Tina opens her eyes. Familiar outlines of her native village come to life in front of her. The girl suggests that they have just moved in space. The hero, noticing her confusion, is wondered if she is hungry, and adds that he has heard about a wonderful restaurant nearby. Hungry Tina dreams of spending as much time as possible next to Haruto, feeling that their company will make her evening special. Stopping, she asks with interest, "What happened to that charming carriage?" Haruto reports that the crew has already left. Tina is wondering if they are going to be teleported home, but the hero only shakes his head. The protagonist confesses that he intended to stay in the village and even took things with him. Haruto is gently saying the shadows. If the heart does not want to stay here, the road is always open home. They can return right now. Tina enthusiastically agrees to stay without hiding her joy from such a proposal. In her mind, an ironic laughter is heard, and in her soul he is pulsating. This evening, Haruto will only belong to her. Tina gently takes the students in her arms, inviting you to move forward. The only thought is spinning in the head. The joy flows through it because happiness has filled it from within. An educational institution called Ifris. Rusin with anxiety reports that something was wrong with Tina and Haruto. Melyudi only nods in response, agreeing with his words. The faces of the main characters illuminate warm smiles when their views meet. Outside the window, the silence wraps everything around. Ryuk appeals to his brother, wondering when his workout finally ends. The guy assures that he will finish quickly. The sister stands next to the excitement in her voice. She came, because he worries because of his restored hand. However, she is not sure whether her brother will finally exhaust if she takes a workout. Dragon Tribe. Blood, endowed with blood, these rare warriors have a unique set of powerful combat capabilities, but they can be found extremely rarely. The genus recognizes only those who have unbreakable pride and strength. In addition, they choose a satellite for life. And this is a good reason. The owner of all the dragons and their people, the majestic god who created the Institute of Dragon Pristics for the sake of the prosperity of his wards. Due to the fact that women who were able to reliably protect and possessed powerful methods of recovery and healing for all races received freedom of action, belief in the dragon god only grew stronger. It was this faith that became the source of the dragon. The fate of Dragon Miko is not limited to contact with other dragon. She was destined to unite with the most powerful world of this and give birth to offspring from those whose power is not in doubt. In this world, people are able to have children with representatives of other races. The baby can inherit the race of one of the parents, or grow mixed. However, under the care of the dragon deity, the Miko's child will be born part of the dragon tribe. The prophecy from the draconic god was illuminated by modern Miko, giving her blood the magical essence of the system itself. Ryuk is interested in Ryusha whether their family ties are worth hiding, because he is inconvenient to be a newcomer at a school, which is also manifested by her younger brother. Such a question offends the boy, and he reproachfully points out that she behaves too cruelly. Raj, the younger of the twins, chooses his studies at the Magic Academy, Ifrist, aiming not only to find love there, but also to become a reliable shield for his sister. The girl proudly states that a brother defender will always stand next to her. Without hesitation, Raya confirms this with a promise. Looking back to his sister, Roshan asks, if he fails to completely turn into a dragon, will he be able to take this force from Haruto? The light movement of the lips, and the girl makes clarity in the word brother about the fiery spear. Rusin nods affirmatively, confirming, that's right. In the imagination, the recall is the idea. If Garuto takes advantage of the magic of fire, the brother will certainly get a spear. She was an unexpected confession. If the magic of the hero was connected with flames or water, at the decisive moment he, without hesitation, would leave a part of her soul so that she could bring him back to life. These words are stunned by Rusin. Ryuk comes to the conclusion that if Garuto owns the magic of light, his brother will never be able to stand against him. If the protagonist will absorb the force of Ryuk, nor the crumbs of his soul will remain behind. The brother encompasses the awareness that the thought that arose from the protagonist was much outweighed by his own anxiety. Ryusen's thoughts ripen. The sister seems to be considering the protagonist as a possible companion of life. The answer from her mouth sounds short, yes, and a sincere surprise appears on the face of a brother. The river considerations echo with the words of his mother. The human race is not chosen, and their lives are fleeting and fragile, as if thin porcelain. The girl confesses that Haruto has just seen the power of Haruto. Any prejudice about his race or something like that immediately lost its meaning. The brother supports her opinion, adding that the only real obstacle is life expectancy. If you compare the human age with their race, which was destined to live for centuries, human life seems surprisingly short. Sighing, Roika decides that there is probably nothing wrong with that. River asks the girl an insightful question. Will she find peace, fulfilling her duty of the priestess when Garuto becomes the first to leave her? In response, the girl notes that he is not devoid of sympathy, and expresses confidence. The question with the life expectancy of the protagonist can be solved. The guy is wondering how many people usually live, and notes that this question is not simple, because there are many factors that can extend human life. It became clear, with the force that Haruto possesses, the implementation of the plan is quite real. Ryuk only nodded in response. He shares this confidence. According to her, they have a serious problem, which can be solved only by compromise. Otherwise, there is no hope. The sister's blade suddenly becomes Rusin's stomach. She casts a look full of determination and coldly declares, it is not much to hope for a more luxurious form. Eliza looks down with contempt when the guy, leaning at her feet, praises his older sister, they say, and already so extremely attractive. In response, the girl cuts off with disgust that listening to these affectionate words is simply unbearable. Ryuk with a slight smile thinks of her own appeal, and jokingly points out, if it is true, perhaps a chance will fall. According to Ryerson, it is only necessary to look, and it is clear that mutual sympathy broke out between the main characters. However, the sister confidently rejects all these assumptions, cutting off that all this does not matter. According to her, Haruto is an ordinary man, and she still had to hear that there were several wives among people. Sister's words immerse the hero in deep despair and embarrassment. The backpack with a smile on her mouth explains, in other words, she and Tina can become Haruto's wives. The sister's idea is a true surprise. According to the girl, if you choose in favor of the family and accept everyone, there will be no difficulty. The girl tells her brother that it will help her to carry out the priest's mission assigned to her. These words are surprised by Payusena. The sister does not behave as usual, and he notes it with a sincere surprise. The Ryuk's cheeks lit up when she confessed to keep track of Haruto. The older brother understood everything at first sight. His sister in the ears fell in love with this boy. Presenting the protagonist, the woman notes that perhaps the instinct of the priestess of dragons prompts her to pay her attention to Haruto. Hardly Ryoka feels his magic, as in his chest a crazy heart. Excitement floods with new force, and peace simply disappears. Her confession that his smile is surprisingly soap causes Rusin a genuine surprise. The dragon tribe is an inviolable rule. None of them are allowed to take more than one bride, and he is clearly aware of it. The brother wonders if Haruto really chose her goal. What is confidently answered in the affirmative. Ryusin, meanwhile, realizes that the sister is still trying to adapt to human life. Ryuk recognizes that the priest of the dragon should be strong and brave, but true happiness seeks near those who can love as a person. That is why she stopped her choice on the protagonist. Ryusin is clearly aware that his duty is to protect his sister until she finds a satellite. He does not offer any assistance or support, because he is convinced that she is completely coping with herself. He is interested in how his sister will approach the main character. He will closely observe this development. Triumphal after completing the duel, Rusin brings the Tina class to a well-deserved victory. The joy of the achieved overflows his heart. Classmates with a smile are caught up in the superhuman power of the district. The dragon tribe is known as the greatest force among human races. The honor and dignity of the black dragon replenish each of his male descendants. A smile had a smile on the back of the backpass. Thoughts about their own stupidity were not rest, but it is clear. Another tense night of training is waiting ahead. The surprise overshadows Ryan's face. The president of the student council asked if freshmen left and did not participate in the duel. The deputy notes with anxiety, the forces of the dragon are simply unheard of. Without losing peace, the man explains in detail why they are now closed. And Ryan, thinking, smiles mysteriously with his thoughts. Only the glow of her own skin, Tina wondered whether Hertu would not allow him to put a company in the bath. The answer was affirmative. After the adventure in hot springs, young heroes from time to time began to take baths together. Suddenly Yuko broke into the bathroom, indignantly exclaimed that it was quite dishonest. The nine-tailed fox has admired that she also dreamed of swimming with Geruto. It was at that moment that one of the twin sisters said the spell, Iceland. Failed, the Yukos shakes, and a shadow of surprise flashed on her face. Flying almost through the removal of the bathroom, the girl crashed straight into the wall. A deep crack was formed from a strong blow in the gypsum. The twins noted that as soon as the main character remains without clothes, to give all the demonic magic there is no point. It is at such moments that there is a chance to get even more sorcery. Kruto urged everyone to calm down, emphasizing that it is much wiser to pass it on magic in turn. Yuko denied the decisive tone, explaining that she no longer intends to concede to her sisters. Lisa regrets with regret that now she is less likely to sleep near Haruto, all through 2 May. Only Antina remains the one who can separate the berth with him every night. Having received from Yuko's short but confident approval, Tina wondered if she should also join the rotation. The tension gradually increased between the girls, but Tina hurriedly explained what the fox meant. Haruto's loud voice rose over Gamor, forcing everyone to stop and look back. The look full of determination called for them to listen to the words that are about to come. He emphasized that no one would change the place at night. Such was his separate request. The confession sounded unexpectedly. The reason for everything was his feeling for Tina. Everyone immediately turned their gaze on him. One of the sisters in a hurry promised to fulfill the request of the main character, because she knew about it a long time ago. Forcing her to repeat her words, I was faced with a choice that I did not leave space for retreat, only to contradict the will of her lord. It is much easier than it seemed at the beginning. This development became a real surprise for the main character. The blush filled the face of Tina. Shame did not give his eyes. The sisters immediately caught the mood of the Perto and promised to treat him with respect. Yuko admires that Tina's dishes are so delicious that it is simply impossible to resist them. With a sincere smile, Tina turned to the main character and confessed that her heart was full of joy. She said with deep gratitude the words of gratitude to everyone in the hall. Haruto's brief consent answered her words. At that moment, all the girls, except Tina, suddenly remembered. Just in front of them stands the main character of this story. The girls, as if predators, rushed to him, trying to absorb at least a drop of his mana. Tina wondered at the hero. what he would like to have dinner. For a moment, he thought of his choice. Gratitude captured the girl for being sold near the class, as well as for the care of those who tirelessly watch their things in the classroom. According to Haruto, everyone made a class test except Ruhan. Despite this, he is always happy in the battles. It seems that only a hatch and I still didn't have to step on the ring, noted the main character. The thoughts of the hero were already drawing a plan in front of him. The moment has come to open the most interesting corners of this city. As soon as this thought was in the head of the protagonist, something incredible happened unexpectedly. The silky blonde pushed Tina. He was nearby. She was cleverly picking her before she fell, and wondered with anxious whether nothing evil happened. The girl sincerely thanked her rescuer. Blondin stopped instantly, apologized to Tina, confessing that he thought and completely immersed in his own thoughts. I wondered if nothing was wrong with her. Suddenly, his face illuminated. He managed to recognize Tina, and without holding back curiosity, he wondered if she really was. The elf stated with enthusiasm that she seems to be even more charming. Reduced the distance between them to a minimum, the road he confessed to her in his sympathy. At that moment, both of the same thought were covered. What the hell took away? Did it just happen? Haruto could not but be envied by the elves. With what ease these words flew out of her mouth. With calm dignity, the elf once again apologized and declared himself the chairman of the student council. Behind him was lined up classmates, supporting his silent presence. Hearing from Tina that she is familiar with them and that they have been paying attention to them for a long time, the blonde glowed with joy. Elf, named Tina, the famous mentor, once again confessed to his sympathy and suggested helping with studying in his own class. Turning into a conversation, the hero strongly urged to stop the dispute. The ice, full of the president's view, slid towards the protagonist. Having neglected the courtesy, he asked who he was, in fact. In response, a confident phrase came. He is a student of Tina named Haruto. She confessed that she has been leading this class for 7 years, and she remembered the only case when they changed the class teacher. The elf answered this question that their school has a system of exchange of class leaders at their school. Surprisingly, and surprise was engulfed by Gyuto when it turned out there is a similar system at school. The assistant, with a slight reproach in his voice, revealed the causes of her unpopularity. It turned out that this opportunity is allowed solely to those who, according to the results of the previous year, took a place in the top class. Sudden awareness came. Their class actually exceeded last year's high school students by force. The elf, with a mockery smile, threw a witty remark to the protagonist. Again, his proposal came. Tina has to use this opportunity and agree to become a class teacher in his class. Outrage covered the hero. How was it possible that no one even thought of discussing it with him? The elf, with his own confidence, has noted that he had long surpassed the current teacher of magic, so he especially lacks the true lessons of witchcraft. The president of the student council expressed a desire to attend Tina's classes, because the glory of the heroine was heard around her. At the moment when he finally dared to confess the shadows of his feelings, Haruto realized, from the very beginning, his true goal is not just a recognition, but its glory that lured him as a signpost. The hero wondered if he had the right to veto and give up this proposal. The presidential advisor confidently replied that he had a right. He reported that if Haruto wins in a duel with the opponent you have chosen, it is not necessary to agree to the conditions. However, the elf rushed to warn the main character. Last year, it took place for them without any defeat in any class competition. In the memory of the hero, vivid memories of the happy moments made next to the mentor broke out, and this warm mention added to him determination. The hero strongly declared his desire to give up. He is ready to fight against the class of elves and will not leave his lover.